Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 173, Blackest Night Issue 2. Raging Bullets, I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge on the comic forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host. As a matter of fact, in honor of my co-host Jim, let's all say the Whatnot core oath. From morning siesta to midday sun, petty crimes will be undone. Regulation haircuts are a must. Calling for backup we do trust. Las Vegas is our favorite vacation. Captain Comet hangs at Hardcore Station. Unless bridges come into our sight, you'll never question our periwinkle might. Pledge proudly to the Whatnot core. Reading comics we do adore. So says the sensei of the Whatnot, Segulin, and his legion of Whatnot core members.
Hoorah, baby! Hoorah! Outstanding!
Yeah, I'm very Blackest Night happy at the moment, so I had some fun with your little intro this week.
Yes, that was nice.
Yeah, actually, for the next couple of weeks, I'm back at work, which means I'm setting up my classroom, trying to get ready for my new batch of students and things like that, so I apologize for the slight delay on our episode this week. We're going to be like that probably for the next few weeks. Please check the website and the forums for more information. I'll try to post on Facebook and Twitter whenever possible, but the go-to places are always the website and the forums. I post there first, so definitely check that out. We're still going to be sticking with, we've been actually really good. 2009, we've had 4 episodes a month at least every month.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so we're going to continue that, and we'll definitely get in for August. But just keep an eye on the website and the forums for the actual release dates of the show, and thank you, everybody, for your patience. Our audience is really wonderfully supportive, and I really do appreciate that. So thanks so much. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com, where you can pick up Magog #2. Jim, you and I were actually just talking about this one. This is one of those books that when they first announced it, I was excited because Keith Giffen was writing it, and I like Howard Porter's art. So I was like, oh, all right, this is going to be all right, for that. But I wasn't really excited about the concept.
Yeah, I really just said, okay. I ordered it because I knew we'd talk about it, and I figured it was going to be one of those things that people would be buzz about the net, and I picked it up really for the show, but I was not excited about it. I was like, okay, yeah, he's an interesting character, maybe,
I'll be honest
why?
with you. It was one of those where I was like, really?
Except
for the creative team.
Yeah, but we read that just in a couple of the issues out now. You have those little sneak previews and peeks into what Magog is going to be like, and I'm changing my tune because it's kind of got like a checkmate feel to me. This isn't your clear-cut, cookie-cutter hero. He's going to skate the lines and go kind of outside where the regular people are willing to go. And also, if you think about that cool Booster Gold episode where they had Magog and Booster Gold together, Booster insinuated that Magog does some nasty stuff in the future. Maybe this is going to be the lead into that.
Yeah, I actually was going to do something else for the ad, but this is the one I picked because you and I were talking about it so adamantly beforehand. It actually goes to show, though, those 2-page previews do work. If it's something you're not sure about, it's a great way to test out whether or not the book is going to be your cup of tea. But Magog's got a problem. How does he use the Justice Society and their vast resources and abilities without their knowing he's going against their standard operating procedure? And that doesn't even compare to his more immediate problem, coming face-to-face with the putrid villain known as Miasma beneath New York City. Continuing the all-new series from writer Keith Giffen and reuniting best-selling JLAR team of penciler Howard Porter and inker John Dell. And that's $2.99 regularly, 40% off, only $1.79. So it's a cool book.
Yeah.
DCBService.com is your source for your pre-order needs. Want to remind everyone, In Stock Trades Book of the Month, our new one that's going to be coming up. We're going to finish for tomorrow over the next couple weeks, and then we're going to jump in about mid-September. We're going to do Preacher. We're going to, actually, DCB Service once again is kind enough to give us the Preacher hardcover, which we're going to do the first 12 issues because you and I both have that hardcover. So the first 12 issues are located in the first hardcover. Regularly $39.99, 47% off because they're helping us out. $21.19, which is a big jump.
That's an outstanding price.
Yeah. And if you want to go the cheaper route on it, it's really great because they're supporting us with 47% off the first 2 trades, which is the first 17 issues of the series. Volume 1, Volume 2, $14.99 each regularly, 47% off, $7.94. So you can pick off each of those for basically,
two for the price of one.
Yeah, so that's great. So either option, I like that they're so kind though to give us 2 options for people if they want to do it more on the budget or if they want to go the premium hardcover route. You can join us for that discussion either way. We're doing the first 12 issues. So I'm excited for that. Preacher it's Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon. It's one of those series. It's irreverent. It's funny, but incredibly deep and dense too. Like, I reread all the first 12 issues already for my initial read-through, and it was the first time I really sat down and read the series since, it came out in monthlies. And now to go back and read it again, I forgot how tense this is. Like, what are we doing?
I know, we're psychotic. And I'm really looking forward to this, and that's not a secret code that I'm trying to swerve anybody. No. This is legitimate. This will be a fun talk.
Well, it's been a while since we've done a Vertigo series. Where we've really delved into a Vertigo series, and I'm excited to talk about that one. So that'll be a great one. So that's, and remember, orders of $50 or more from InStockTrades.com, you get free shipping. So it's very cool. Thank you, InStockTrades.com, for supporting us. And Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, Sean, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
We're going to be doing some voicemails on this episode, and we love your voicemails. It's 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype. We always air all of the voicemails that we get unless there's a technical difficulty with them or something, in which case I'll let you know. So we love having your voicemails on the show, so please consider participating through voicemails. We also accept audio comments and emails. Audio comments always get on the show. We're an audio medium, so we tend to go to the audio stuff first. Emails, I try to respond to every one of them that we get. We get quite a few of them, so if I haven't responded to your emails yet, I promise you I'm getting to them. It just takes me a while sometimes. And the forum is always a wonderful site. I try to respond to all the show episode threads for the forum. Actually, I try to give personal responses to everybody whenever possible. So thank you all so much for everything you do to participate in the show, though. A lot of people are doing stuff outside the show, Podcast Alley, Pop Current, iTunes reviews, stuff like that. I'm always amazed when I see a new one pop up, because that means somebody's taken time out of their schedule to just let people know about us. Mm-hmm. It's, we rely a lot on word of mouth. We don't have a budget of any sort for the show. The show costs us money. We don't make money off of this. We're fortunate enough that we have sponsors that help defer the costs, which is great. But this is not a money-making operation here. So anything you guys do to let people know, this is basically consider our podcast. It's a fanzine. So thank you for everything you guys do to help to get the word out that you're enjoying Raging Bullets and for people to give it a chance, because we rely on you a lot more than you know. So thanks so much for that. And let's, without further ado, talk some Blackest Night.
Nice work, Atom. What are these characters up to?
One of the things you suggested is we should probably start by just talking casually about Green Lantern 44. I've really been liking the way this series works, in the sense that I've really felt like, because I went back and reread Blackest Night 1 and 2 this week, and they read really well by themselves.
Yeah.
But you can go and read things like the Green Lantern title, Green Lantern Corps, Blackest Night Batman, for example, the Tales of the Corps miniseries, and all that stuff, it stands alone by itself and reads very well by itself, but it adds something to the experience too. So you're not losing anything. If you're reading just the main miniseries, you get like a nice complete story, which is great for people on a budget who just want to follow the main miniseries. I like when they do that, and this has been a strength. I think Sinestro Corps did this very well as well, where you could just read the stuff that was going on in Sinestro Corps War, and you didn't have to read those satellite one-shots and things like that were off to the side. I hope that that's something that becomes a template for how to do events, because not everybody can afford to pick up everything.
Yeah, and if you're not picking up the thing, and you're just picking up Green Lantern Corps, you're still getting a cool stories that you find out exactly what's happening in the Sinestro Corps, in the Blackest Night. You're still getting the information, so you're not completely lost going from issue to issue. But when you read everything together and you follow through the flow through, it is just so cool that it is just an enjoyment. And
I bet you it's easier on the writers, though, who are writing the minis and the outside stuff, if they have the opportunity to tell just a really good story in there without having to worry about it directly tying in.
Yeah.
Like, it obviously ties in the sense that it's happening concurrently with a lot of these events, so you can, like, Blackest Night Batman was a great example of that. I really felt that was a nice contained story that was playing off the events that were going on here. Peter Tomasi's writing. It's obviously he knows a lot about what's going on in this story, but it still felt like a nice, like I could read that Blackest Night Batman miniseries by itself and not even have to read Blackest Night.
Yeah, and that's,
I think that's a great way to craft good stories in an event.
Definitely. And just, 44, I loved how it opened. Because it was about not only is the Oreo vibrating, the Choco, the Choco falling, but you think about that Choco. That was the one that Bruce put on there. And that was when he dropped the cowl. And he was not Batman. He was not the big scary bat. He was Bruce Wayne honoring and saying goodbye to his close and dear friend. And that, for me, I'm just like, the significance of that little cookie is so much for me. And just to see it slowly rattle and fall off. And then John, erupts out, just the page spread of him coming out and just the landscape. And it was just a cool start that just had me going, oh man, this is going to be some cool stuff coming here. Now, we'll go right from there to Hal and Barry. Now, I'm always was the guy who wants to see more Hal and Ollie because I like seeing the heroes on the road, but Hal and Barry, oh my God, this is a great team.
Well, you know what I like about it, too? It's funny that you mentioned this. When I was doing my notes for Blackest Night #2, because we're going to do a really in-depth discussion about that, one of the things I really liked about that so much, and it's really prevalent here as well, is they're buddies just like Hal and Ollie, but it's a different relationship because of the different personalities involved. These are two, they get a little tongue-in-cheek every so often, but not quite to the same level that Hal and Ollie will go to. I love that, but they're two police officers working together, but I want to say more too, they're two buddy cops working together, which is the big distinction there in the sense that these guys are police officers who've worked together before. It reminds me of Felix Leiter and James Bond, for example, when the two of them get together. A little bit different in their operations and in the groups that they belong to. Because we got Felix Leiter, CIA, we got James Bond, Her Majesty's Secret Service, but yet when they come together, they've done so much together. There's a familiarity and a common mutual respect. I really like that.
I work with a lot of cops, and I've worked with them over the years of the various occupations I've had. These read so much like just two comps hanging out. You have the moments when you have the light sense of humor where it just breaks the tension, but at any given point in time, these guys are going to go hardcore. They're going to do their job. They're going to knuckle up, and they're going to do what needs to be done. And that for me was just, I was like reading going, oh my God, I know these two. I know people just like this who in the middle of the fight would crack a joke, or when they're investigating, they would do a little bit of something kind of to lighten the mood because it was getting too dark, getting too nasty for them. They need, that something to give them a lift up. But when they're doing the investigation, they each have their own strengths, and they trust each other to use their different strengths. Hal's got the ring, which is more of like the technical side, whereas Barry is the forensic scientist. He's got, he's going to analytical, the looking at the different, they both are reviewing it, they're both investigating it, but it's their own little twist to it, their own little specialty, which, comes from not only just their power sets, but also who they are. And I thought that was just a great buddy cop stuff that I was just eating it up, and I was like, oh my God, I want more of this. And we get more of it in Blackest Night too, so I was really happy.
It was great, though. I'm glad they took this fight with Martian Manhunter to the single Green Lantern issue, because I don't know, I think it would have derailed the pacing of Blackest Night issue 1 and 2 if you had expanded this in that issue. But for those of us that want to see how this plays out, great way to do this. Give us a nice, great issue that shows us how this battle all played out without derailing the main story. It's a great way to handle this. It's there for the people that are interested. For those of you that just want to follow Blackest Night, maybe you're more of a casual Green Lantern reader, or your casual DCU reader. You read, maybe you're a Superman fan, but you want to read Blackest Night. I like options in how you approach this series, and you still get a complete story. I'm big on that. I think this is a nice change from the events where Part 1 is in Batman, Part 2 is in Superman, Part 3 is in Green Lantern. I think those lose. I think the writers involved in that, they lose some of the freedom to really delve in and explore some of this. And this, I love this. This is great.
Oh, definitely.
I got a question here. When we're looking at Barry picks up that blood residue, or the black residue, and then you see him first contacted by John. you see like his face almost is covered in like a death-like.
Yeah.
I'm taking that the nature of John's powers have changed on some level because of the way he's come back. And actually, I hazard to say, because when we talk about issue number 2, I want to talk about what I think's happening here. I got some speculation right now, but ignore the fact that I'm really saying come back. Just let's say that his body popped up and is coming for a visit. Right?
Yeah.
The powers are still there, but because of the fact that he's a Black Lantern, they are reacting slightly differently in how they come about, and we're seeing that in the way that it physically manifests on Barry. Is that what you took that as?
Well, I took it could have been that, or just to show the influence of the blackness on him, the influence of the death.
Because it is when he's connecting with John.
Right.
So I took that as John in his head is what's causing that.
Yeah, that's kind of how, we're kind of in the same wavelength here.
Okay.
Now, the other thing I was thinking is, because Barry is one of the people who died and came back. Mm-hmm. So could it be somewhat of connection to he has a little bit of death in him? He has a little bit of the undead in him. So maybe there's that kind of connection going on.
And John's connecting to that on some level. I will say one thing that I'm noticing here. We've talked about it before when we were talking about issue number 1, that they're being scanned and everybody else is being scanned for, will, hope, emotional responses that are coming through here. And these, I don't know if you've been noticing this, these Black Lanterns are deliberately trying to instigate heavy emotional response from each person. Not only that, they seem to be driven by the heavy emotional responses. So I want to talk a lot more about this in issue number 2. It's almost like they're emotional parasites on some level.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same wavelength here.
Yeah. And I want to say that loosely right now because I'm speculating. I'm not 100% sure on what's going on, but I do feel that issue number 2, and even all the way through this, we've been seeing some clues as to what's really happening. And I do like, though, that John has his powers. When we see Arthur later in Blackest Night number 2, he has his powers.
They all had their powers when they came back. And I like, one of the things I like is we're seeing John unleash the mental attacks on them. And even when, John's trying to get to him, try to goad him, and he's flashing the parallax stuff to Hal. When he goes back and he's scanning Hal, while this whole parallax stuff is, Hal is still green with willpower. Yeah. It did not faze him. And that was, for me, something I thought that was cool. That shows why he is one of, if not the best Green Lanterns out there. He's not going to get fazed by throwing parallax in his face. He's made his mistakes. He's done with that, and he has moved on. And it's, it's one of those things where he'll never forget what he did, but it does not dictate who he is now. He is a hero. He is a good guy. And I ate that up just seeing him try it. And then even I took it kind of that John realized that wasn't working and shifted his plans. Because he immediately saw that Hal still had that strong will going, so he shifted the attack, shifted how he was going to deal with this.
So we're seeing 2 creative thinking.
Yeah.
Out of the Black Lanterns.
I'm thinking we're seeing creative thinking. Yeah. We're seeing strategy, planning. Just these aren't the
well, no,
zombies. These are
targeted
good
attacks that are different based on each person. Obviously they're using personal connections, but I do like here once again we see the cutaway to Barry's head. We see his brain in there, but we see again. I do think this is the black influence because it's when John is mentally going after them. I really like that visually. Doug Monkey's art in this particular issue is really, really sharp and detailed. Actually, the whole art team I've got to commend because the colors are fantastic.
Yeah, this is definitely a hoorah looking book.
Yeah. Because there's a lot going on very fast and a lot of dramatic changes. I love when Barry's escaping from the situation, you get to see the lightning coming behind him. It's just amazing. I liked seeing Barry and Hal working together, though, and defending each other. Yeah. Like, it wasn't Barry just for himself or Hal just for himself. They were really working in tandem. And Barry was relying very heavily, when he went to rescue Hal, relying very heavily on the fact that Hal is alert enough to save the two of them, because he does this diving save and puts basically both of them in a situation where they could get squashed very fast.
Flash, flash. Flash fact: the Flash don't fly. But talk about gutsy move though, because that's something for Hal to be able to fly them. He's got to compose himself. He's got to have the willpower for it. I'm remembering back when Up and Away happened, when Superman was watching Hal fight, and he got like blasted with some type of powder or something like that, and Clark's sitting there thinking, "Oh man, Hal." Needs to concentrate and he needs to focus. Can he pull it off? And Hal does it. It was one of those weird things where it was one of those moments where Clark wanted to jump back into the fight, but he still didn't have his powers yet. And he even commented on how just the willpower, the focus, the determination that Hal needs to do what he's got to do. Right here again, we see that. We see the ring slinger there that is just a really cool guy, man.
When they come crashing through the fire station at the top, first of all, I loved the artwork here where you got to see the details of, like, the shock. And just like, what the? Because how would you have time to compose yourself for that?
Yeah.
You don't expect people to come flying through your ceiling. But you had to have loved this bit. Hal calls it in.
Yep.
Right away, because of the fact that the Green Lantern Corps is a police unit in the way that they operate, he calls it right in, but can't get a hold of anybody. Yeah. Hey, which is his first indication that something's up on Oa.
Police Procedure 101, communication is the key. You got to let everybody know what's going on, when it's going on, and how it's going down. You're not one man by yourself. You are a team. You are a corps. You are a family unit. You have to defend and protect each other.
I liked that we got to see Martian Manhunter. With him, I'm as powerful as Superman. Why does everyone forget that? I am noticing repeatedly when we see the Black Lanterns, and I may be reading too much in this right now, everything they're lashing out with is some form of emotional response. Like in this case, anger over the fact that people forget that he's as powerful as Superman, or, annoyance, whatever you want to call it.
A little petty jealousy maybe there.
And it can be everything from love to jealousy to, they're almost these negative emotions. A lot of the Black Lanterns that are being brought back are people that died traumatically, or died and had lots of traumatic business leading up to that death in their life, where, Jean Loring's going to be a great example of that when she comes back. But, a lot of the people that we're seeing coming back have this. John, for example, he died in a very horrible fashion. And remember the state that he was in as a person at that point in time. Very unsure of his role in this world, in a very different state than we'd been used to seeing him on for many, many years. Very different than the state that he was in, for example, on Morrison's JLA. He was probably the most alien that he had been in a long time. So it's interesting to see him lashing out with these emotions. And back at Oa, to see what's happening with the Guardians, with Scar.
I like this, man. It's giving us a little bit more pieces of the puzzle. Because this wasn't your typical villain rant, we're going to destroy the universe. No, they're going to save the universe. The Manhunters failed. The Green Lantern Corps failed. Now it's time for the Black Lanterns to come in and cleanse out the universe and set everything right. And that, for me, was like just a cool moment, because now we're dealing with something more than just the evil villain who wants to destroy the universe.
Right.
We're dealing with a zealot who thinks this is the only way to go. That we're dealing with an extremist, the ultimate extremist, if you will, who wants to, in their mind, bring peace to the universe.
It's time for a new army to save this universe. Emotions cause chaos. They push beings to places they shouldn't go, to want things they shouldn't want. They are the source of chaos. And the only way to eliminate chaos, to halt the growth of the emotional spectrum, is the annihilation of sentient life. I learned this as my body died from the poisonous burn of the Anti-Monitor. The voice of death grew louder. Its echoes across the universe, even now, rise. I mean,
dude,
they're deliberately attacking the emotional spectrum. This is something in the epilogue, the 2-page or 3-page epilogue of issue 2. There's that talk about Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and how they were the symbol of love, or they were, the basically the embodiment of that because of their reincarnation over and over again. The love that, and this particular love. That never. Jeff Johns was talking about this in the spotlight on him, or I think it was the Blackest Night podcast from San Diego. He was talking about the fact that they were chosen because of the fact that they would be the love that never could be. What a tragic story out of those two.
And it's appropriate that they went with Hawkman first for the first one of those type of epilogue things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, no, for me, just because it's spotlighted in some level, I think he's going to have a major role in this particular series. I'm curious to see, though, because they say Rage is next.
Yeah.
So they're going to be going after each part of the emotional spectrum, and what is that going to... Rage, in particular, is very... Because that's that Atroticus or whatever.
Probably.
Yeah, which... Ooh. Going to be interesting to see what that core in particular looks like. But I'm... The 2-page of Hal and Barry going at it, because I didn't see that. Did you see that coming?
No.
It got me.
And to be honest, I was like, I smacked my head. Yeah, I smacked my head when I said, "Oh my God, Jim, you're an idiot." But they did it such a great way, because all the previous times we saw John in Barry's mind, you saw the little blackness there. With this one, we didn't see that, and so we see him doing the attack. We see him lashing out, and I could have.
And we see it where it happened here, too.
Yeah.
Right in the spot where he hits his head, you see, like, Barry's face, you see that, and John's talking to him, and right away, he's talking to him through Hal.
Yeah.
Or, I should say he's talking to him in his head,
mind,
but he's making it look like it's coming from Hal. And that was really great how he handled that. But that 2-page spread was absolutely gorgeous. Doug Mahnke is really, I've really liked the artwork on Green Lantern as a series all the way through.
Yeah.
And you get worried anytime there's major art change, where you're going to change to a different artist. And this is really very detailed and right to the fact that you've got, what is it, like the CB radio from that particular truck flying through the air as those two are fighting. It's great stuff.
It's kind of a cool tie-in to where they make their appearance in Blackest Night 2.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, how it was a nice roll into that.
I am glad that, though, they don't feel like they need to tell stories that have occurred, like... The story does not have to take place after issue 2 or in between. It takes place in between panels, and you as a reader can kind of say, okay, it had to have happened here or something like that. I think there's a lot of stories in big epic events like this that can be told that way. Where this is a cool one-shot story. It's a good, like one of my friends, my friend Chris Kendall, was asking me because he watched the Green Lantern First Flight DVD, which is absolutely amazing. It's a great. I actually any of you out there have friends who don't. Aren't Green Lantern fans, maybe have never seen that. That's a great primer to the Green Lantern universe because it moves at a really smooth pace. It gives us Hal's origin in a way where it's, nice and quick. It gives you everything you need to know, and it fits organically into the main story on where it's going, but yet there's still a big dynamic. There's the politics of Oa. There's the sense of the police force. There's the sense of the unity between each of the core members and how respect is earned, not just given.
Yeah.
I love that element of it.
Yeah, it's a great gateway into comic books, and it's just that nice tease, and it's a little bit different than the current story, but it's not so dramatically that if you went from one to the other, you would feel lost. You would say, oh, okay, this is how they're doing it in this universe. Oh, cool.
Well, and the story was changed slightly for the sake of the pacing of this story.
Right.
And I liked that. I liked that element of it. But I did like the theme that respect is earned.
Yeah.
It's not enough that you've got a Green Lantern ring on. It's why should I believe you deserve to have that ring on?
Yeah.
And I like that, knuckling up, and that everybody in the Corps had a different personality and a different way of reacting. But when you're a police officer, you have to trust the people that you're going with to have your back if you get into a bad situation like that. And you want to know that person can not only hold their own, but that they'll be there for you. And that was interesting to see, especially in some of those space battles, Hal having to say, and it fits, I think it fits dramatically into this type of storytelling as well. But to go back to Chris, he watched First Flight and liked it so much that he's like, where can I jump on for Blackest Night? And I told him, I said, really, you could, if you want to get in and just get your feet wet and see if you like it, just read the mini. The first 2 issues of the mini, I think, are great. But I said, if you want to, he was asking me, should I start at Green Lantern number 43? And I said, the great thing about Green Lantern number 43, that was that Black Hand solo issue.
Yeah.
You can jump on that one, and I said, it'll give you this great insight into the villain. I said, it gives you a great insight to how this all built out. And I said, 44 it really expands on elements of things you see in issue 1. I said, you don't have to read it. So I said, decide how much you want to spend.
Yeah.
I said, that's really going to be your driving decision. I said, but I would be comfortable telling you pick up Blackest Night and just enjoy the miniseries. And then I said, if you're like get diehard into it, you're like, wow, that was the coolest thing I ever read. I said, then go grab the other stuff. I said, you're going to be fine either way. I like when it's crafted this way. John Stewart, I'm glad to see him spotlighted at the end because he's a character that I've always liked. And the Justice, you know where I really liked him a lot? Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
I thought he was a great character in that cartoon. I think it really captured the core of what makes him cool. And this comic is capturing that as well. And to see him having to deal with not only what he's done in the past and having those moments with fatality, but knowing that he is going to have to deal with some lost loves as those... Yeah. Rings are flying past him. Oh.
Yeah, there's going to be some issues coming down. Yeah, things are about to get pretty bad for John.
But this reminds me of the emotion that I had for Sinestro Corps.
Yeah.
That was just, there wasn't a bad issue. Yeah. The pacing was incredible. There was so much going on that you just wanted more and more and more of it. And that's a good sign because we invest a lot in these comics. And
here's a funny thing with me and Blackest Night and Sinestro Corps. I would actually say I have more of an emotional investment in Blackest Night than I did in Sinestro Corps. I was looking forward to some cool fight sequences and cool seeing what happens between the two corps. But in the end, I knew the Green Lanterns were going to beat, Sinestro, or they would, save the day. You knew how it was going to kind of end. But it was the path getting to it that was such a cool ride. With this one, I really do not know who is going to die. There's going to be a body count is going to be huge in this.
Would you say you have more of an emotional investment in this one, or you're enjoying the mystery more? Because to me, so when you talk about emotional investment, Sinestro Corps War, you can completely disagree with me if you think I'm wrong on this. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I am enjoying this as much as I enjoyed the Sinestro Corps War because Sinestro Corps War blew me away. Like, I expected to enjoy Sinestro Corps War, and I was floored by how cool that was. So I'm finding this to be just as enjoyable, and that's not an insult to this. It's a compliment to both series on just how cool those events were and how tight they were written. And I felt like they were great examples of storytelling where there's not a wasted panel. And that's important. The pacing, very cinematic, very energetic, there's constant nonstop excitement, and they take you through various emotions. Now, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. That was my experience.
Okay.
But
well, here's actually, when I say emotional investment, I'm not saying it as it's better or worse. See, when I read, Sinestro Corps, I loved it. I was hoorahing. I was pumped. I was like, yeah, this is cool. But with Blackest Night, there's different emotions being sparked. Yeah. And that's what I mean by an emotional 100%. Investment. I have a wider variety. I go from the hoorah, cool fight moments to the, what's going on here? Or, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. It's got the stuff that I love about the non-slash. I love good, solid ghost movies, good horror movies that aren't the cheesy slash-ems. I like the mystery unfolding and seeing what's going to happen. That's the type of stuff, and this has that. But it still has that high energy, high hoorah moments that I want in Green Lantern stories that I enjoy in the core stories. So that's why I say more of an emotional investment in this, because I am hitting a much wider spectrum of the emotions, when I read this.
Well, and I mean, by the nature of the fact that the Black Lanterns are attacking the emotional spectrum.
Right.
You're getting different kinds of emotional storytelling that are sparked off by this. So that you're right, that's natural. As I agree with you. You're 100% correct. I understand completely what you're saying now. It is. So you weren't talking about quality of the story.
No,
all that.
Never quality.
Because both of them, to me, I actually like the fact that they're two very different kinds of stories. This doesn't feel like Sinestro Corps War 2.
Right.
This feels very much like, it feels like it organically came from that, but it's very much a different story.
This does feel like part 2 of a really good trilogy.
Right.
It's not you get the cruddy sequels out there that you're like, okay, it's the same storytelling.
That's
of the
what
first
I mean, yeah.
This isn't that. This is a trilogy where it's a series that built on the last one, where it's going to go somewhere. And at the end of this one, there's going to be build up for the next one piece of the puzzle. So it's, a continuation of a great story that was built on.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to this storytelling. Actually, what's nice about it, too, it doesn't feel like it's picking off where Sinestro Corps War left off. It feels like we got there over time through all the building of the War of the Light, which is really great going on there.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
Jim, I want to talk really in depth about, although I don't know how much more in depth than we just did, but Blackest Night #2. The writer's Jeff Johns, the penciler's Ivan Reis, inks by Auclair Albert with Julio, it's Ferreira, colors by Alex Sinclair, letters by Nick J. Napolitano, associate editor is Adam Schlagman, and the editor is Eddie Berganza, and I apologize in advance for any name butchery. But, dude...
Oh, my God.
This issue kicked off with a heart-wrenching sequence for all of us Hawk fans with the Stone Chat Museum. I have to commend the artwork here. No characters actually shown on screen until we get to Ivytown. The mood is set by not only what we do see, but as well with what we don't. There are not dead bodies on the screen, but the blood on the floor, walls, windows show us enough to paint a picture that we have developed in our mind. I'm a big fan of this kind of stuff. There's destruction everywhere, artifacts from Egypt and weapons from all over the world in various time periods, which has always been one of the coolest things about Hawkman. Drawing from the armies of histories for his arsenal. I love that stuff. Where else would an archaeologist go? It adds to diversity in his combat options, which is something that I've always enjoyed seeing played off with this character. I think can be explored even more in future storytelling with him, is just to kind of see where else can he pull from and why. I like that archaeologist aspect of him, but that was something for me. It was what you didn't see. You knew that was brutal.
Yeah, that was a tough. And for him to even go down, you got to think about how nasty, because he's both. Both of them.
Because she can hold her own.
Yeah,
very much in the Hawkgirl series and in JSA. You've seen Kendra step up to the plate just as much. I think she's a little faster in her own way. It's because of her, her build and body type and all that, but she can go. Yeah. I have to say the sequence with Ray is fantastic, too. When you fall in love with someone, when they are the love of your life, this is hard to shut off. He knows she did something so horrible and so vile that he shouldn't care. But like any human, he can't help but remember the good times. Remember those moments where they connected. And you have to ask those questions then. Am I responsible? Could I have done anything to stop this? What if I noticed it earlier? Was I too busy doing my own things that I never saw the warning signs? So there's going to be a certain amount of guilt he's running around with as well, as far as and longing for the person that he thought.
Yeah, it's that person that you first started seeing, that love, that is just that wonderful person who you forget that they turned into the psycho-wielding, trying to hit you in the head with a frying pan.
And who's the real Gene Lawrence?
Yeah, I know, which is real, which is the real one. Yeah. And it's, oh, God, I ate that up, and I was just sitting there, and you see him just talking on the phone, don't hang up, man. And I'm like, oh, my God, stop.
I know.
Dude. And I'm sitting there, I'm yelling at the comic. And it felt such like those classic horror movies where you're like, dude, don't go in the room. What are you thinking?
And see, that's a lot more real to me, though, than him just being okay with it.
Yeah.
And him just going on with life and it acting. To me, I would have been more disgusted if Ray went on with his life and acted like nothing happened, went back to the JLA. Hey, everybody, all this stuff happened yesterday, but life's grand. Yeah. I mean, these are close friends of his that were killed, people they double dated with. So, they have memories both that we've seen on camera and I'm sure things that happened off camera things. These people were close. There's always those things that they allude to. Gene and Sue went shopping and Ralph and, obviously Ralph and Ray were doing stuff together in the Justice League and they were hanging out doing buddy stuff and things like that. These guys were all friends.
Yeah.
and they were friends with Carter and with Shaira, and I mean, just to have all that happen, it's natural. It's also hard on close friends because they lost loved ones to Jean's lunacy. They want to support Ray, but how do you support Ray when he has those moments without feeling of rage over what she did? He has those moments where I'm sure he's desperately angry, but other moments where he's longing for the days where things were better between the two of them and life was good, and where did it all go wrong? It's going to be interesting to see Ray eventually face Jean in this, because he needs closure.
Well, I thought someone asked Jeff Johns that, and Jeff said he wasn't going to do that. There wasn't going to be...
No. He said he wasn't going to do Jean Loring versus Sue Dibney.
Oh, okay. I knew
that was what he said he wasn't going to do. So the question was asked was... is there going to be a throwdown between Jean Loring and Sue Dibney? And he said, I don't think I can get away with that. He said, I've got a lot of he was basically implying I've got a lot of leeway, and I'm playing around with a lot of elements here, but I don't know that I can pull that one off.
I couldn't remember who he said he couldn't get away with. But
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, okay.
I'm assuming, and remember, I'm assuming here either. I don't know 100% for sure they're going to do that. I'm assuming you're going to do Ray Palmer versus, or at least a confrontation with Ray and Jean.
Yeah, maybe.
I got to quit because remember right here,
he's going over to visit Carter,
and we don't see what's happened yet.
Yeah.
How do we know Jean's not already there?
True.
Because when we see the JLA Black Lantern Corps at the end, Ray's not with them.
There's no Ray there,
but Carter is.
Yeah.
So where is Ray?
Yeah, what happened there? And
now, did he not meet with Carter yet? I find that hard to believe that he wouldn't have jumped through the phone.
Yeah, that was the thing. He said, hold on, I'll be right there in a minute.
Right,
he's
so
jumping through the phone.
He's already there, and Carter's already moved on. There's something we haven't seen that's happened.
Yeah. And I tell you...
I don't think Ray's dead, do you?
I hope not. But, it could very easily be a micro-sized Ray Palmer, a dead Ray Palmer, who's going to spring up in the middle of somebody and pop out with their heart in his hand.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was worried about. If Carter was able to get to him before, if he comes to the phone, hey, Carter, thanks, whoa, and he sees that, is he able to shrink down in time, or will he be greeted with a hand through his heart?
I don't know.
So it's that, I don't know. And it was, talk about a creepy horror film moment when you just see the dead Hawkman's mouth. Yeah, come on over, let's talk.
Carter needs a dentist.
Well, that Carter does.
Yeah, because if I'm going to go through the phone to have a chat with some guy, the dude on the other side better have some serious dental hygiene. Carter's worst enemy is not the Black Lanterns. It's really an issue of the cavity creeps. Sorry. We don't see what happens to Ray, and like I said, I mean, that's something that's the puzzle for me. What do you think? Do you think Ray is still with us?
I hope
or not?
So.
Because you said I hope so. I guess I was assuming that he was.
I hope
You're thinking there's a chance that he's not.
There's a very good chance because you think about.
I liked your idea of him being able to pop.
Yeah,
he would make a good Black Lantern.
Oh, that was when we saw at the end of the issue, we see this undead JLA or Black Lantern JLA or whatever you want to call it. And first thing I did was I looked to Hawkman's shoulder. And I looked on the shoulders. I'm looking. I didn't see him. So I was thinking, does that mean he's alive? But that first thought that did pop in my head is he's microscopic size. And he'll pop out of someone's chest with, it'll be one of those, it'll be like an Aliens thing where comes shooting out the chest and it grows bigger and you see him holding the heart. Bam. One down. That's what I was thinking.
It seems that the Black Lanterns have specific targets, though, that they're going after.
Right.
They have specific goals and targets for a reason. So I'm wondering, and they're trying to generate emotional responses. Could Carter generate the same emotional responses in Ray that Jean could?
No way.
So I'm wondering if that's, because my speculation is, and we see throughout this issue, they're trying to generate heavy emotional responses for a purpose. And I'm almost wondering when they pull that heart out, because the heart's what they're using for power.
Yeah.
When they grab that heart, that's where they get the power from. I'm wondering if it's that it's an extreme emotion that they're generating at that particular. They get to a certain point where they've got enough emotional buildup in those hearts that's what they're using for food. I don't know, or for power source or whatever.
See, I don't know if it's the power source for the individual Black Lanterns. I think it's the power source
I don't think,
for the one big Mamba Jama
I agree.
coming.
I don't think like when they pull it out, they become supercharged. I think they're whatever their source is that's pulling them in there.
That's what's getting charged.
them?
That's why it keeps, every time you see a heart, it's a new higher percentage. Once that thing reaches 100%, that's when we're going to see who's calling the shots. That's where we're going to see the big bad come in.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm wondering what that looks going to look like as well. Gotham City. Can I say just how much I love Barbara back in Gotham?
Yes.
That, to me, I think has been a strength of Battle for the Cowl and what's happened there. Just having her back there. I adore Birds of Prey. I'm a huge Birds of Prey fan, so any of you out there saying, but I loved her in Birds of Prey. I agree. Birds of Prey was fantastic.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey started out in Gotham, and then, eventually spread out from Gotham, which was fine. I loved it when it did. I had no issue with that. But it's interesting to see her back there now, if that series isn't going to be around, with her dad. Because I think those moments with Dad are amazing. One of my favorite lines, when she was talking about her rehab, no matter how dark the night gets, the sun still rises in the morning. Those bits showing that her strength of being, because it'd be very easy to fall into, in that situation, and understandably so, to fall into depression. And, you've lost the ability to walk. And this is somebody who, her athleticism was a major part of her identifying characteristics.
Yeah.
She went out at nighttime and she was Batgirl. That's taken away. So not only did that change her day life, but at the core, the person who she wanted to be, the things she wanted to do with herself, all completely were taken away in that one bullet.
Yeah, I have a bad day at work, and I'm a moody little son of a gun.
Me too, yeah.
She lost her use to walk, and she still is able to have a positive outlook. That is just something huge in her character and who she is.
She's an inspirational character.
And yeah, I know. That's one of the reasons I don't want to see her out of the chair.
I agree.
Because she is such a great hero in the chair. Yeah, she would be an amazing Batgirl, and if she got her power, if she could walk again, she would still be that inspirational type hero. But there's just something about her that is, yes, she has this disability, but it doesn't hold her back. Mm-hmm. She is strong, she's not strong, to get over it. She's strong because of it. It's because who she is. It's part of who her being is. That is her strength. It's not because she's got to deal with a chair. No, it's because she is just this cool person who doesn't quit.
She's cooler than cool. She's made herself into something that I think she's so.
You get what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I totally. Honestly, you when you said about your bad day at work, that's to me one of the joys of people. Wonder, say, what is it that you love about comics so much? I have a bad day at work. I come home and read a comic book. So that's why I get so excited about this medium, and it's one of the things that we try to share on this show is characters like this that put things into perspective for you. Girl got shot by the Joker, and what did she do? She sets up this huge network. Yeah. She is like the end-all, be-all of connectivity. Martian Manhunter. Sure, he had telepathically connected everybody. When he was gone, who's still your go-to person, though, for interconnectivity? Oracle.
Yeah.
She is the go-to. Who doesn't go to Oracle? From your Blue Beetles, your young up-and-coming, and he's hard to say up-and-coming anymore, but, he's still one of the younger breed of characters. In his current issues, you're seeing that he has, in the backups, you're seeing that he still has that connectivity with Oracle. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
You don't necessarily see her on the page there, but the quick reference to her, that's an iconic character that to lose her on any level would be insane.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's... it's like a classic horror movie, though, because we have this great touching moment between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Jim, she's like, "Hey, I got enough coffee to last us to the sunrise. Like, you're an amazing person, like father, like daughter." It was just that great, powerful, passionate moment. That was just that, nice feel good part, and it's completely shattered by hell crashing into the bat signal. Classic horror movie, classic. Just everything is so grand. No, it's not. It's about to hit the fan.
Jim's confession about Batgirl during that segment was cool. I don't know if confession is the right word, but his, admitting that we talked about before that subconsciously he has to know. And I don't think outwardly, if you said to him, Jim, who's Batgirl? He's not going to say Barbara. Even if it was in confidence or anything like that. I don't think it's on that level. But the feeling of frustration over feeling powerless, I do think that some of that is protecting a citizen of Gotham. So there's that little tiny element there. More importantly, this is a partner of Batman. He saw that they work together, and this is these people who work with Batman. There's a connection to them. He's part of that group on some level. So I think there's part of that. But I think there's an unexplained need to protect Batgirl, to care about her concern that he couldn't even explain at that moment. Mannerisms about her, something about her had to have felt familiar with him on some level. That, you know that person's part of your family on some level. Not saying that he knows it was his daughter, but he knows that there's something about her that he knows. There's a connection to her that he had that is very different than that of Robin, Batman, Nightwing. Those connections are not the same as they were for Batgirl, and he probably couldn't explain it if you asked him.
There's the intuition. There's that,
there's something I like about him.
That cop instinct that, at the bottom of his gut, he knows there's something.
Or parental instinct as well. This is a family member here with, even friends. There's something about close friends that even if they were wearing a costume that made them totally unidentifiable physically, there would be something in their mannerism that even if they had so well crafted an alter ego that you couldn't put your finger on who it is under there, there'd be something about that you'd find comforting or you connect to on some level that you couldn't explain. Blackest Night Aquaman rocks.
Oh my god! You know what? I loved Blackest Night Martian Manhunter. He had just this creepy kind of factor. Aquaman is
blows him out of the water.
This is one bad Mamba Jumbo. Oh, yeah. I would run from this one.
Yes. I'm a big fan of Arthur Curry. It makes sense they would want to bury him as the king in a place that would honor him. I think Garth is right to want this. He's been through a lot for Atlantis. He's been king and lost that kingdom multiple times, lost his hand, been disowned, been brought back as a king, died, turned into a creepy-looking monster, a.k.a. the Dweller. All the things this guy went through, be like, no, he needs to be honored properly by these people. They need to acknowledge who he is. He needs to be a source of inspiration for them on how to better themselves as people. With racism, it's disgusting that we have to say this, but Arthur's story is a powerful message. It shows us some of the problems with our own society, and it brings it right in your face in a way that's very metaphorical. I like that. I'm a big fan of this in comics. It's very smart. He had trouble with humans and Atlanteans over his dual nature. The best Aquaman stories played off that and taught us something about human nature that we should strive to better. It's a great thing about comics, the social commentary. Comics, to me, are a great way, if you read them and you look at the messages in there, to make yourself strive to be a better person. I think so. And I think it's great.
One of the things I thought was kind of cool is because we have such a different viewpoint of this whole Aquaman universe. I've read Tide and Times, and I knew from the previous issues and some of the background stuff, I kind of have a good understanding of what he went through, what Garth is going through, what Mira is going through, but I really didn't have as much knowledge as you had. I didn't see these stories unfold firsthand the first time through, so I'm getting most of my knowledge through Blackest Night, and I'm following everything, and I'm also into the emotional. When they had this whole discussion of those two going back and forth, I was like, man, this is some cool stuff. They could really do a neat Aquaman story spinning out of this with Garth rebuilding Atlantis. The whole, and everything you're talking about, the racial, the inner political struggles, the dealings of Mira dealing with Garth sitting on the throne now. What's going to happen there? And look at how this ends in this issue. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just went on a roller coaster ride in one issue. Bam.
I did so not see that coming.
No. And I was just like, oh my God. And that for me was just a great aspect of Blackest Night. It's why, as I said, I had that strong, I'm going through so many emotions when I'm reading this. I was looking forward to some future possible political stories that could involve Atlantis. Maybe the rebuilding of it. Will he assume the name of Aquaman? Will he will he continue to go whatever, Tempest or whatever he was called before?
Didn't this make you hungry for a new Aquaman series?
Oh God,
though?
yeah.
This whole segment right here made me say, man, I want an Aquaman series. I would love to see that again. Imagine how creepy it is to come to a grave and find it desecrated. Because typically when you go there, it's a very solemn place, but there is something safe about it. In the sense that it's a creepy place. I gotta admit, I don't like going to grave sites. I'll go to visit family and pay respects and that type of thing, and I think that's something you should do, so don't get me wrong there. But I think, to me, graveyards are very creepy places. But there's also, you expect a certain something there.
Yeah.
And, you expect that the grave's going to be undisturbed, that there's cared for and that type of thing. You don't expect to turn up. You would expect that that's a line people don't cross.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to go rip off somebody's house or things like that, if they went to go break into the lighthouse, I'd expect the lighthouse vandalized severely before I'd ever see the grave touched. Maybe the stone knocked over at the best. But to have the whole grave dug up and out of the place, these people walked up on that. They had no idea that it came from the inside out versus the outside in, because, you know, the ring burst through, but he had to blast out. So, wow.
I tell you, it's, you know, I've mentioned a couple of times that one time I was in Hawaii, and I went to the Arizona Memorial, and, you know, you go there, and you see a movie on the attack on Pearl Harbor, then you go right from there to the shuttle boat that takes you out there, and it's just really this amazing experience, because you walk out of the building, you're in this dark movie theater, you walk out into this bright light onto the boat, then once you're on the boat, all you see is the white memorial sitting on the water, and you're slowly going towards it, and everyone is silent. There's no one talking, no one saying anything, and it's not anything, no one told everyone to be quiet, you just do it, because you know you're going someplace sacred, and you're going to this grave of these soldiers who died, and when you're there and you're looking down and you see parts of the ship, you see all the names written on the walls and all the flowers and all the thing, you know, the honoring these people, and you're just like, whoa. And to this day, I still, whenever I talk about it, get chills. Right now, I got chills running down, and I'm just like, and I'm just remembering that emotional response. And it was just, you know, it's that sacredness of a grave. It's that sacredness of, you know, that final resting place. You know, whether you agree or disagree, whether you like or dislike somebody, there's something about the dead. You let the dead rest in peace. You know, and that is just, just that emotional, that look of shock, that look of what on their face when they saw the grave just completely scattered was just like amazing.
Well, it's a comfort for a dying person too. A lot of times to know that there's some security in that.
Yeah.
You don't expect that your grave is going to be desecrated. You expect that that's, you know, they always call it your final rest.
Yeah.
I got to say, the Black Lantern Corps needs a good medical plan. When you think of the various rainbow colors, overall, there's some pretty good-looking people. But the Black Lantern Corps needs to see a dermatologist fast. There needs to be some, like, cream or salve for what they got going on. Their costumes are amazingly cool, though. I really got to say, they've got better costume designers than anybody at DC. But they're ugly-looking people.
I tell you, I am really looking forward to con season because I want to see some Black Lanterns. I want to see, because there's been every year we always get some really cool costumes that people just go above and beyond at these cons. I know we're going to get some cool Black Lantern costumes out there. We have to.
What was the Black Lantern? Billy Mays, I think, was at one of the convention panels, and he identified himself as that. So I'm not making this. Well, that was what was said there. So that's funny. I think a pivotal sequence here is when Aquaman talks about being hunted due to those human ties, rebuilding Atlantis and hunted again, now that he is hunting. So it shows here the driving motivation is that their rest isn't peaceful because of disturbing elements of their lives on some level. There's something emotional that's driving them. It's like they're going after and targeting those emotions, because of the fact that emotion in their life disturbed it on some level.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I'm trying to still get a handle on what that is, but there's something disturbing that they're trying to... Go ahead.
Well, in a couple minutes, I'll have a comment on that. And there's something... It's about the way the body, you know, the way they ended what's going on with them, which is pulling them to the Black Lantern.
Well, Boston Brand is a big... critical element here, because the next bit with Boston Brand, aka Deadman, Blackest Night Batman delves more into this, but his body rises, but his consciousness is still separate, which was interesting there. To me, it was a major clue that we're seeing a rising here, but it's not a rising in the sense that we're getting back the person. We're getting echoes of them back on some level, because he was able to still be around. So I thought that was a major clue that... like this Aquaman, this Blackest Night Aquaman, is not Aquaman. Well, at least completely.
Yeah, not completely. Now, with the Deadman, I loved the Black Lantern oath. You know, the darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your heart and your demise. By my black hand, the dead shall rise.
I know, yeah.
Dude, that's another cool one.
He had to have had fun writing those oaths. I don't know if he did them himself or if he got together with people, or I'm sure he seems very collaborative in the way he does things, and I think that's part of the strengths of Jeff Johns is the fact that he collaborates with a lot of writers, with artists, with things like that, and I think a good writer knows to pull from every resource that you can to write a better story. Obviously he's so incredibly talented, but I think you pull in information to make your stories better. And I think that's a great way to do it.
That's a much better oath than the one I came up with for the Black Lanterns. Yeah, I said, yo, we're the Black Lanterns, come get some. That was what I thought it should be, but, this is much better. I fully admit that.
They could still say that, though, and it'd be pretty impressive. Because I got to be honest with you, a lot of them, their costumes are so cool, they could say that and it would work.
They could pull it off.
It wouldn't seem cheesy at all. Because while their bodies look ugly as can be, their costumes are pretty kicking.
Yeah.
And that's universal.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Don Hall of Earth at peace. Another major clue to me. Dove died a hero's death saving a boy during the original Crisis. Is his soul at rest? Is it the nature of his powers coming from order versus chaos like his brother? His brother's soul not at peace, just like it really wasn't at peace in life, relying on Dove to provide that peace and order to his chaos. It's seeing these elements of who these characters were. It's interesting that the Black Lantern ring could not overcome this, or maybe that he didn't apply, because it kept saying Don Hall of Earth at peace. Kept trying to seek him out. Don Hall of Earth at peace.
Yeah.
But then, Hawk bursts out and says, I guess Hawk's got to handle this himself. That type of thing. It was interesting to see that, though. I have to wonder if all the souls being pulled are ones who are not at rest. And again, I hazard to say souls because I'm not quite sure what is being pulled out yet, and I don't think that's a simple answer. I think it's elements or echoes of that person on some level, or echoes of their emotional response. I don't know. Every time they talk, there seems to be the goal of engaging that emotional response. I'm speculating out loud here, not totally sold on all this. I'm not saying that, I've got it all figured out. I've gotten clues. And that's what I like about this storytelling. You talked before about how it takes you to a different emotional spectrum. What's different from this, from the Sinestro Corps War, to me, drastically different, is the mystery of this. It's a good mystery story, trying to figure out, my nose is twitching.
Yeah, big time, man. And
I like this. It's a fun story for that.
The whole thing with At Peace, I was thinking of, because I'm thinking on maybe the religious side, how, the spirit has moved on. It's moved on to the better place. He's at rest and at peace with himself, that he's no longer, the tormented soul. He's no longer
they seem to be searching for that.
Yeah, so that's why Dove is clear. If you think about when Green Arrow died. Mm-hmm. He died, when the thing blew up, he died the hero's death. And then when...
Not really, though. No. He was a hero at that time, I take it back. But he was going through, during that stretch, a lot of the turmoil you see Ollie go through at times. Yeah. So there was something to that. You're right, he was a hero's death. I should take that back immediately. You're 100% correct. So, but his turmoil leading up to that, life wasn't so great for Ollie at all times.
It wasn't the heroic, but you think about
Did you read any of that?
Oh yeah, well, I didn't read actually his death. I read the relaunch of the series.
So you guys
when you saw him go,
it's worth reading to see how it happened.
When his body first came back, and it was the body without the soul, and the one guy was going to take over his body, and all that whole story, and it was Hal was explaining. It was Hal went to heaven and was telling Ollie, "Hey, you got to go back there. Your soul needs to go back in your body." He was in heaven. He was at peace. He had that moment where everything was good and everything was calm. And everything, he was like, at one with himself and the universe. That's the soul at peace. That's where Dove was at when he died. Maybe these other heroes, they're not at that place. Maybe they're not in the quote-unquote heaven. Maybe their spirit is still searching for their final resting. Maybe their spirit is out there and it's not...
But do you take this that it's their spirit that's coming back? Because I think Boston Brand to me was the big clue that is not what's happening.
No,
here.
It's not their spirit that's coming back. But the fact that their spirit hasn't moved on, it's not locked and protected.
It's leaving like an emotional residence or something.
You think about, he's using Batman's skull, as his key, as his gateway to get to these people, because his spirit is not at rest. He's going through the Omega sanction. I think he's actually going through the sanction now as it's going on, as this is occurring.
And dying over and over again.
Yeah, and it's that whole torment that's going on with him. Dying, coming back, dying, coming back, dying. That's bringing it out.
But it goes back to what, like a lot of this, I think, what Scar said in issue 44, that whole speech that Scar was giving at the end, I think is a real clue as to the motivation of why these people are being picked. They're picking people who died because of emotions, because of traumatic emotions, and died a traumatically emotional death. In Batman's case, over and over again, probably on some level, because it's supposed to be he's reliving these horrible lives over and over again.
Well, he's a troubled spirit from conception because he's the kid who witnessed his parents being murdered. That was his motivation, his startup for becoming Batman. Take away all the good that Batman did by saving lives. He is still, at his core, a troubled spirit.
I don't feel like I've got 100% of a grasp on what's going on here. I like that. That's not I like the mystery of it. I like speculating about it and just kind of thinking out loud as far as... So that's what a lot of this is. So, don't take it like I'm sitting here set in stone. This is what I think's going on, and it's set that way. I'm not at that place. I'm liking, though, trying to figure out, like, pulling clues from here, clues from there. There are clues being laid out for us, and that's where I think this story is very brilliantly crafted. I think this is all going to come together at the end. We're going to be able to take a look at some of these things we're talking about now and say, this is what was happening there. I think we're on to some truths. Some things I'm iffy on, where I'm kind of like, there's some things where I'm pretty set, like this is where it's at right now. There's other things where I'm like, okay, I think this might be what's going on, but I could see it very much shifting in a different direction. I don't know.
Yeah, we're zigging and zagging, we're slooping and sliding. It's a really cool...
Bobbing and weaving.
Yeah, it's let me throw out every possible metaphor I can think of to show zig and zag, okay? But seriously, that is the roller coaster ride. That is the mystery, the adventure. Oh, yeah. It's everything.
All you're missing are boxing gloves right now.
And it's funny, as I'm talking, I'm bobbing and weaving, and my hands are flailing all over the place. If this is a video podcast, it would be ridiculous.
I can't tell if you're trying to be Sugar Ray Leonard or Don King. It's like
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Aquaman's trying to invoke rage in Aqualad. Then he shifts to like feelings of love, which I'm guessing love towards Mira. There's a lot of times where I was speculating on what emotions these Black Lanterns were trying to generate, and I think these can be read in different ways, depending on how you're seeing those moments, but it is clear that they're trying to key on major emotions.
They're trying to get that spark.
Yeah. Tula and Dolphin trying to bring about like fear, I think, in Aqualad, or rage in some level.
Yeah, I was thinking fear and rage.
It seems to be shifting different emotions, trying to get the biggest emotional responses.
Yeah, they're trying to get a response out of them, and I
think more than one though. It's like a build-up.
Well, I think what they're trying for is get the biggest bang for their buck. They want this bam of emotional energy. So if this doesn't work, let's go this. If this doesn't work, let's go this. Let's go this. Let's shift it around. Let's see if it's
why didn't they go for his heart right away?
Because he didn't have any of the strong emotion.
That's what I'm saying. They build up to in every case. They built up to this.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see how that's playing off. Arthur almost seems to switch to rage with Mira when talking about the sun, trying to invoke rage, talking about the sun, because what mother, you're not going to feel love there, you're going to feel...
that's that's the hitting below the belt there when you bring up the mother, when you bring up the dead child to the mother.
I got a question about the sharks. Did you think those were dead sharks that he calls up?
See?
Because I looked at the eye sockets, and I could take them in two ways, so I could easily see this being one way or the other. It could have been the dark, murky waters that were playing off the eyes, and that's why they looked that way. But I could have also taken those to be empty sockets in the way that they were presented. So how did you take that?
I took it as those were living sharks that he invoked, and he can still call the animals. But he called them differently. And I could see that too. He called them differently this time. He called for the sharks to kill, instead of like some other animal to stop them. He's going for blood. And he's going feeding the bloodlust, fueling the rage, maybe get a nice emotional response from Garth as he watches his guys get slaughtered.
Right.
He was going for that, that rage. I think.
Those guys were expendable.
Yeah.
Because they weren't being targeted emotionally. So they didn't matter to the overall
He didn't
scheme.
need the heart, didn't need their heart,
Right.
And they were red shirts with blue shirts on. I was like, come on, they're supposed to wear red, guys, don't you know?
They didn't dress for the occasion.
No.
Although you can argue after the Sharks were done with them, the shirts were pretty red.
Pretty red.
Pariah returns. Phantom Stranger is like a pain in the butt. Great character, and I'm saying that he's a pain in the butt, but I love the character. He rallied together groups like Shadow Pact before, but never tells the whole story. Do you think he knows the nature of what's going on?
I think so. And I tell you, I'm so glad you said he's a pain in the butt because, he's like, I can't interfere, but I'm only here to guide you. Well, let me guide my foot someplace, buddy. Okay? I'm like, I love, with him and Madame Xanadu was wonderful. The character, he makes these great appearances, and I enjoy the character. But you know what? If I was one of those heroes, I'd smack the dude. I'd give him the backhand.
But I think he plays well off of Madame Xanadu's a great example of where he's working real well because of his nature. The two of them have major issues because of it, and it plays off very well in that book because she calls him on it multiple times to the point where she runs between having strong feelings for him because of the times when he is helpful and because he does genuinely want to help. I believe that part of him. But the rules and restrictions that he have that we don't seem to understand, this higher calling that he has that we don't seem to understand, it hurts a lot of times. It hurt her in her book. I think those are moments where he, unknowing or without unintentionally, will a lot of times cause emotional pain without trying to, and emotional frustration without trying to. But that's Madame Xanadu's a great example of a story where if you want to see a great exploration of the frustrations that can be the Phantom Stranger in a good story, Madame Xanadu has that.
Yeah, he's being used well there.
Another clue, Spectre can't detect Boston Brand or the Black Lantern version. I'm not sure what that means at all yet, but I thought that was, I don't know if that's a red herring, but I thought that was interesting that he couldn't detect them. Because that's something that seems to be in his nature, he should be able to.
Yeah.
Pariah is an excellent choice here. Tormented his whole life to watch worlds die. His unsettled self returns to bring fear from his words, is what I'm guessing. He makes sense to come back as a Black Lantern because talk about a guy whose life
has been tormented
and surrounded by death.
Yeah, and it was funny because when I first saw him, I'm like, oh my God, they're really pulling everybody.
But his whole thing was worlds will die. Yeah. Now it's all like worlds will come back. Yeah. Whoa. Uh-huh. The Spectre was unexpected for me in this segment, but I felt like a dunce. The nature of his relationship with Crispus, it would make sense. He's a tormented soul who has unfinished business, who died, has come back as the spirit of vengeance, a perfect target to be a Black Lantern. It was interesting, though, that in some ways Crispus's deal is similar to Boston Brand's on some level. You can make comparisons between the two, but Crispus is so much more... like Boston Brand's a little bit more upbeat.
Yeah. Well,
whereas Crispus has been so heavily tormented. It's interesting.
Yeah, because you think about it. Boston Brand is a hero. He is one of the good guys. Spectre is the spirit of vengeance.
Both targets for right reasons. So, Deadman was a target too.
Oh, big time. Yeah, but it's still because Deadman, his physical body, that person died. He was shot in the. He was murdered.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So he had that
which is why
death.
He was a target for the Black Lanterns. So that's why the body
comes back.
Right.
But the Deadman's spirit, the Boston Brand, is still out there.
Well, I think Deadman's a big clue.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure yet on how that's working, but I think he's the first major sign that we have that what we seem to be seeing is not what we're getting. That's not Martian Manhunter. At least not as we know him.
Yeah, that's definitely not John. And that's, now, the one thing I noticed in this sequence to me, it seemed like the Black Rings were attracted to Z and to Blue Devil, but were repelled by life. Now, I don't know if because they're alive or if there's like mystic-type life energy surrounding them. Now, with Z, I was thinking her father is kind of like the love protecting her. And it's giving of his piece of his, spirit to her as like his guy, as her, that unseen guide, that unseen guardian, that guardian angel that sits on the corner and keeps her alive, and it's, encircling her with life and positive energy. And
the nature of their magic, I'm thinking, is more than anything else.
Now, the thing that got me though is Blue Devil.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's the nature of their magic.
Did he once again sell his soul, or did he make a deal with the other side?
Did you read the end of Shadow Pact?
I read the end of Shadow Pact, and I read the Hell series.
Okay, because he got back, obviously,
his powers, but
right.
Who did he get them from? They never really showed him getting them.
He's not, from my end, at least from the way I read it, and you'll have to help me on this because you read the same. I'm not 100% sure on this. I guess the way I'm reading it now is he got his powers back, but he no longer is linked the way that he was. I think he's fine now with his soul.
Yeah, I think he got his powers from up instead of down.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think.
I don't think it matters so much with where he got his powers, Jim, as how. Mm-hmm. Like before, his soul was sold in order for him to be the way that he was. Now he got his soul back, and then he got his powers back after the fact. So his soul has no longer been sold. So I think it's the same power set. So I don't think it matters so much where he got it from as how. If you follow me on that.
Yeah.
His big thing before was the fact that his soul was sold, so he was linked to that, but we saw him get his soul back. So I don't know. That's a kind of a gray area. I think there's more to be told with the mystical characters in this story.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think there's a clue there as well. I don't know 100% what it is yet, but I think it was interesting that it's two magical characters, and life was the reason they were bypassed. So it was another clue that I thought occurred in the story.
It's funny. I was thinking, though, if Spectre falls, usually, oh no, we got massive problems. Because even in the first
crisis... Do you think he's their Parallax-style entity?
Who, Spectre?
You think about it, he's the spirit of vengeance the way he is. Is he their Parallax? I don't know. I didn't
think so. I honestly didn't think so.
You talk about a guy...
Who could be
an entity to be pulled into there by his nature.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was speculating. I'm not 100% sold on that either, but I was just throwing it out there as, is that a possibility? I don't know. Because it was an entity who held host after host to live beyond death, searching for redemption as the spirit of vengeance. I don't know. It seems like an interesting...
Yeah.
I'm looking for that entity because Jeff Johns has alluded to the fact that there is one. So I could be diving there.
Yeah,
I'm thinking I could be diving there.
Yeah, he could very easily be.
Right.
I don't know.
But I want Hal Jordan back.
Yeah.
I loved, like you said, the Blue Devil bits. Do we have time to hold hands? Phantom Stranger? No. Didn't think so. And that 2-page spread.
Yeah.
Oh, was that a good choice for a 2-page spread with the Spectre and Zatanna and Blue? That one, I think, with the size of that character versus the human beings, you really needed to see that in a large spread, and that was really cool. Now, when we saw Hal, I was like, why did Hal need a car if his ring is still at 47%? I was wondering if this was a side effect of battle. I'm just sharing what I was going through as I was reading. I was wondering if this was a side effect with the battle, with the Black Lantern, or red herring, until I saw the reason he wanted the car later, which is so cool. So we'll have to talk about that when we get to it. But that whole segment, I was like, car? What is he doing?
Can I help you? Let me borrow a car.
What I really liked about that bit, besides the car, though, his internal dialogue about Barbara shows how well these veteran heroes know each other. They can speak volumes without actually talking. He let her know Martian Manhunter was involved in, the way the speech went with talking to Jim Gordon. Basically let her know, heads up, we got a big problem here. And basically, she would know to check her hard drive because Oracle makes sense. This is a huge worldwide problem. He already tried to call it into OA. That's not working. He has to try another method to get that information out there. He needs to get the intel out there and try to mount some kind of defense, some kind of solution, get some info on what's really happening here. This is the 411, guys. We got a huge problem on our hands.
Let people know that if one of your loved ones comes back from the dead, don't trust them. And
right.
I thought that was wonderful. Once I was not only just beyond my call for backup stuff. This was just a great veteran superhero move, but a veteran police officer move. We talked about it earlier. How this is your brotherhood, but they only survive by what they know. Constant radio communication with dispatch always happens. Right here, Oracle became the new dispatch. Oracle became the person you call it in because she's going to spread it out. She's going to let everybody know what is going on. And I just that little bit, I ate it up, yeah.
Mira versus Arthur. I forget how powerful she can be. Barry and Hal are having trouble with a Black Lantern, but she's basically standing her ground the same way they are, which is saying a lot about her. The two powerful water blasts sent at Arthur, they pack a ton of punch. We've seen the damage water can do over the past few years around the world when blasted at these kind of levels. And this is what she's delivering with them. These are world-shattering levels of power that she's leveling at him. I really liked her in this. Her strength and her power showing that she didn't go whimpering or anything like that. She gut checked just like Barry and Hal are. And I think she's just as much an MVP in this issue as they are.
The thing I liked is she went for the kill shots.
Oh, yeah.
And so did Garth. He was going for the kill shots. They recognize this is not our family. We're taking him down. It's the whole
also
Atlantean...
respecting the power that you're dealing with, though. Either way, you're still dealing with Arthur. Aquaman. Which Aquaman, people tend to, you think back to... People tend to make jokes and try to make him seem like he's a wimp. Arthur is super strong as well and can take an awful lot of a beating. He always has been able to. So you can't take him lightly. It's one of the great things what I enjoyed about reading from Atlantis Chronicles, which is really, when Peter David wrote that, I was a fan of his work, so I'm like, let me read Atlantis Chronicles. Then he took over the Aquaman series. I read all of Aquaman straight on through till, the second series following Peter David's ended. And... This is a character who gets underestimated quite a bit with what he is actually capable of, but these are people that know better, and I loved that moment.
Yeah.
I was a huge Dolphin fan from Peter David's run. Garth's wife may have gotten her head knocked off, but now you got to tell me, seeing as many horror movies as I've seen them too. You had to know that wasn't going to do it.
It's growing back. Come on.
Right. But what I didn't see was the death of Garth via Tula coming. That was the one we talked about it earlier. He's another tormented soul, though. The loss of his wife and child. Tula. Not to mention Aquaman. His rejection by the Atlanteans at various stages leaves him an easy goal and a target for what they're looking for. For the emotional... Because they built him up like a battery, took out his heart... And then they've got the perfect husk waiting there to be refilled with Black Lantern.
Well, she waited until he had hope. That was the thing I liked. He was trying to inspire hope, trying to get her, I know if you're in there, fight it. It's like, yeah, hope will do. And that's when they went in for the kill.
Right.
I thought that was just a cool fact that it's, we keep saying how they're playing them. It's definite strategy being used by the Black Lantern.
It's a mind game.
It's the huge mind games, and it's and it's not even just playing off of the typical emotional.
No.
You see, if either of our loved ones, we have friends, family who have died, it would be a completely different emotional response that these guys are having. It would be sadness, shock,
friends
horror.
Who I've gone to school with.
Yeah.
I mean, close friends, people that we've gotten together on the weekends with, watch pay-per-views with, watch whatever, wrestling and that type of stuff that we used to get together with. People who've passed away very young, who were good friends, that if they came back, this would tear you apart.
Yeah.
That's the horror of it. It's not just the dead rising. It's that there's emotional connections to these dead. They pull at various emotions and heartstrings. Wow. And I think we're going to see very different things when we get to see villains coming back, and what emotions are those going to... It's crazy. Now, it was interesting, because when I see the heart come out, does that separate them in a manner like Boston Brand is separated from his body? Being that core essence is in the heart. What we see from Boston Brand, when he's outside like he is, he's like what's going on in the heart that Tula was holding. The dead man that we're seeing still floating around in Blackest Night Batman. Is that what she's holding, for example, on some level? Some form of that, some essence of that
Maybe.
is there.
That could be.
Because that's his body, we see that come up. So is that why he's still ticking around? I don't know. There's a clue there. I don't know what it is. I feel like there's a haze there that I'm trying to grasp on. I don't have it yet. But there's definitely something there. I do think that, like I said, this interesting thing, they get pulled into the Black Lantern Corps for peace. Dove didn't need that peace, already had it. I'm going to keep a close eye on the commonalities between the people who are being brought back, because I do think we're not just seeing everybody come out of the ground. There's being targeted people that are being pulled out. Because not every dead person on the earth, are you taking it this way? Not every dead person on earth has been brought back.
No, not every dead person, but,
Right.
a
lot.
They're targeting specific people, though. And it's, the definite, we're seeing like people who are dying who died an emotional death or died traumatic death. They're pulling them back in. Especially, you look at the people in the, in Batman, a couple of those people who we see come back, talk about holy traumatic death Batman that we're seeing. So I think there's got to be that energy. There's got to be that shock. There's got to be the shock and awe type of stuff around their death that would cause them to come back. It's not the person who died of old age sitting in a nursing home somewhere. It's not the people who had that peaceful at rest with their family and loved ones present. No, it's got to be the people who had the life, if you want to say, ripped from them. It wasn't their time to go. It wasn't natural. It wasn't ready for it. It was just that, kind of thing.
I got to say, Aquaman, back to his ugly family, because there's actually something I want to talk about again. It is the clothes that make the man, or woman, in this particular case, because they do look good. But Tula and Dolphin. Now, will they be okay with Garth being with one or the other? Because you see, Dolphin was kind of, hanging on him. They were very together in this. Here's what I'm thinking. Was their fight of sorts just to mess with him while he was still alive to generate emotion? Or will that continue on some level? I'm guessing that that's done now because they achieved their goal. Is that the way you're taking that?
Definitely.
Because they were fighting, but I thought that was
just emotional. That was just
generate emotion in him, right? It had nothing really to do with them at all.
Well, even after he comes back, you see, Aquaman telling Tamira, "We'll get you. You will join the family again."
Right.
It's now
because Dolphin was playing with her head, as well during those segments. But I'm guessing that's over if they get Mira, which I'm hoping they don't, because Mira rocks.
You know what? I'm thinking Mira may hold her own and prevent. It ain't gonna happen.
I would read a Mira series now.
Yeah,
Mira is cool.
Yeah.
Hal and Barry, or Harry. Harry. That's kind
Harry
of
and the Hendersons.
No, it's like their relationship name. Hal and Barry, collectively known as Harry. Doing the combo on John. Hal brought the car for gasoline. I was like, that's what he brought it for. Because I was so totally like, what did the Black Lanterns do to his ring? Even in this situation, I like that they were concerned, after they did their great team-up bit, playing off of each of their strengths and all that, the combo works. Barry's concerned about containing the fire. When you're superheroes, there's going to be collateral damage. There's going to be damage to the area, things like that. They do the best they can to contain it, to protect the loss of life, protect injuries. Not forget about loss of life, injuries in general. Yeah. In this case, they had to stop John to protect themselves, to protect others, but they have to be concerned with the fact that there are going to be people outside of this cone of damage that they did. I thought it was such a small panel.
Yep.
Such a cool bit to me, though, that they threw that in there, because I think it's important. It's a characteristic defining moment that shows what makes Barry and Hal so cool.
We notice this, we always comment it every time we see it about how, when there's like the villains getting away, but innocent lives are saved, the heroes go and save the innocent lives. And it's how, a lot of times villains will use that as a distraction to get away. It's, the classic hero moment that you're not so focused on winning the game, getting the mission done, taking down the bad guy, that you forget about the innocent people around it. We both play the online hero games. And that's something I really wish somehow a game creator could bring in, the fact that there are innocent lives in jeopardy, that you have to save them. The Superman game.
Champions Online.
It is? Ooh.
You've got to rescue innocents
in
certain missions. I will say it's one of the things, let's talk about City Heroes a little bit more, because you and I both play that. It does bother me that when you get, and it's nothing, I love the game, so this isn't a knock on the game, I'm a huge fan of it. Don't get me wrong. What happens is, though, when you get to a certain level, there's no incentive to say, like, you'll pass a woman getting beat, your handbag taken or stuff like that, and you won't stop to save her, because you're no longer anywhere near that level, and there's no gain. Which is really, it's really the reverse of heroism. You're only really attacking if there's going to be an experience gain or some kind of gain like that at that point in time. So it is really funny.
I actually do help them.
Do you really?
I still like my level
All
50.
of them?
No. Like,
okay.
my level 50.
So you still pass up some though.
I do pass up some
levels. Right?
I do pass up some, but my level 50. Sometimes there are days when I just feel like flying.
Right.
So I fly around the beginner level city, Atlas City, and I go through and I just just one shot these villains or these groups. I'll drop a firebomb.
I do that too, but I mean,
it's
you
just
don't
for fun.
But I mean, how many times have you been on the way to speeding onto a mission? In a zone that's more your level? Have you stopped off and said, "Oh my God, there's 30 different crimes going on here. I need to stop them. They must be thwarted."
Yeah, I don't do that. No.
I almost wish there was a way when you were in the zone that you were leveled to that zone, so it would make sense for you to
to fight.
interact.
Yeah, I know.
Which isn't. I mean, again, like I said, it's not a knock on that game, but I think that it makes sense, like you're saying. As a hero, your natural gut instinct and reaction should be to save lives. Blackest Night's a great example of that, where you get to see Barry Allen and Hal doing that in the darkest. Because you could even argue at this point that if they didn't, you could defend them and say, well, they let the blast go off the way they did because they were so emotionally distraught over seeing John come back and what he did to their heads and all that. They were off their game because of it. You could forgive that.
Yeah.
In that situation. What makes them cooler is even in the darkest of dark situations, these guys are true to who they are at their core. That just shows the kind of, like I said, this is where comics are inspirational. They try to make you better. We talk you when you said before about bad days at work, I have them all the time too. And I love my job. I adore my job. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. We all have tough days though. If we're lucky enough to even do our favorite job, which I am, it's still one of those things where you're going to have bad days. You're going to have those days that just don't go well. A lot of times they're for things that are completely out of your control. These guys, though, step up and man up during that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Another classic horror moment, though. They're sitting there and they burn it like, and after this is done, we'll return John's body because, the desecration, we can't allow for this desecration. Yes, he was the heart of the Justice League. You have this tender moment between these two guys, and rule number one, evil doesn't die that easily. I love the fact that they just dropped fire, and not only, you think about it, not only did that Flash contain it in there to protect the innocents, he magnified the effects. He turned that into a blast kiln, by keeping the flame and keeping it concentrated and focused on what John was. That's fire. His main weakness. That's his kryptonite. Did nothing to him.
Dude, we're a couple of ugly men. And do you realize that if we joined the Black Lantern League, because I was thinking to myself, would I want to be in Vixen's Justice League? Would I want to be in Hal's, the one that's going on in Cry for Justice right now? Or would I want to be in the Black Lantern League? Dude, if we were in there, we'd be the most handsome guys in that league. Because they look awful. But wait, think about the cool-looking outfits we'd have.
Yeah. I know, we'd have cool-looking outfits.
We'd look pretty darn sharp. We could be like their Wonder Twins or something like that. That level of character. We'd be like their sidekicks or something. Yeah. But we would look good.
Dude, I'm stymied. I'm speechless on this one because I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? My God, dude.
Well, because we always talk about like which heroes do you want to be. I'm looking at the Black Lantern League and I'm like, for ugly people like us, we'd do pretty well in that league. We'd be the ones they'd be talking about. Yeah, boy, it's an ugly bunch of people. What about those two acceptable guys in the back?
No, see, we would be that guy. We would be the guy that they're like, they don't, we would be the expendable guy that you're like, why are these guys hanging
dead.
around with us? No.
How expendable can you be when you're dead?
Dude, even dead people would not look at us as cool and let us hang out with them. Come on, let's be honest.
You got a good point.
This is still Hawkman. This is still Hawkgirl. This is still Marsh. Well,
no, I'm not convinced that they are.
Well, okay, it's not exactly them, but it's still, even the dead versions of them are way too cooler for us. Come on, let's be honest here.
Well, I want one of those outfits.
Yeah, see, the outfits.
That's really what
cool.
it is.
Now, we are in graves. We are dead. If you go by the Secret Six universe.
That's true.
So maybe we'll rise up. I don't know.
That's funny. The text piece in the back, we talked about it a little bit earlier. It shows us that they're targeting emotions. They're targeting love with Hawkman and Hawkgirl. I loved that because it went through and kind of showed the history. For anybody who wants to know why I love Hawkman and Hawkgirl so much, those last 3 pages of this I thought were just an absolute wonderful exploration of what makes those characters so cool. It was great to see Jeff Johns write that because he got it so well in that Hawkman solo series and when he brought him back, and then Gray and Palmiotti built on that. These are characters that really, I joke, I overdo it on the show on purpose about Hawkman, but it really is a character that's important to me, who is one of my favorite characters in DC. And, aside from Batman, there's nobody I like more than Hawkman, and it's because of great moments like this.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that it was the love, but not only the love, it was the love and tragedy blending.
Yes.
That drew the Black Lantern to these two to be their quote-unquote love.
The death and rebirth and finding each other again.
There's always the torment. There's always the suffering. There's always but it's at that moment of love. It's at that moment when they find each other, when they admit their love for each other. Especially when you think about back in issue 1. It was right as she told him, "But I do love you." Spear through the chest. It was at that exact pivotal moment of declaration of love. She was beaming at the maximum amount of energy that love could produce, and that's what, turned
I'm a big Kendra fan, too. Because when Justice Society of America, when JSA first came out, and that series was relaunched by James Robinson, and then continued on through Goyer and Johns and Johns, Kendra was in there for quite a while before we got Carter back, and because Carter didn't come back till issue 25, really, of that series. So Kendra was really developed from issue 1 as just this really cool character who you really got to know. And got to see her, she had a great relationship with Sand.
Yeah.
In that series that I thought was amazing. That's a series I wouldn't, I can't recommend enough people going back and rereading. But she's a character. It's funny how much I would love to see her come back.
Yeah, I'm wondering,
because she as a character is to me just as important.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm wondering. Can these people come back? The people who rise from the dead, are they dead? Is this just animated dead bodies? But the people who have their hearts ripped out, can they be healed? Can they be brought back? I don't know. I'm thinking dead is dead. And
I'm thinking it's not going to be as simple as there's a way to cure the people who went through this. Because otherwise that means that everybody... Or...
See...
here's my question, going off of what you're saying. Can the people who had their hearts ripped out, if those can be... whatever that energy source is being used for, if that is somehow dissipated, can those people come back?
Yeah, see,
so maybe not seeing Elongated Man and Sue Dibney, because they didn't get their hearts ripped out and used for the source, but can the people like Tempest, for example, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, can these people who are losing their hearts in this be brought back? That might be an interesting distinction on the two, because I don't think everybody who's a Black Lantern can come back. What about the people? And I'm not saying that I think that they can either. I'm saying I wonder if there will be a distinction on that and there is a way for them to come back.
Yeah, because that was the only people I would think could come back. My school of thought is dead,
I do
and
too.
you ain't coming back. But on the other hand, I could see, as long as they were the people who had their hearts ripped out, can maybe come back. Because it's, you replace the heart, you do some mojo, and the person's back. Boom. Yada, yada, everything's good. But the others, those are animated dead bodies. Those aren't the people coming back. Because we're definitely seeing these aren't
Boston
their
Brand,
souls.
I think, is Brand for me has really given me a clue that, hey, wait a minute. What we're seeing is not a rising of these characters, and I'm with you. I'm completely convinced that dead is dead. Definitely for the Black Lanterns that we saw in the initial wave.
Yeah,
the ones that came up from out of the ground. The ones that are being killed right now, I don't know. I have a question mark there. Can they come back or not? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's something
I think they've got the best chance.
Yeah, if anybody's got a fighting chance, it's them. Now,
what happens if you get back the wrong heart?
Oh my God! Tell me that would be cool if Hawkman and Hawkgirl switch hearts. So you got you got Carter Halls in Kendra's body, and Kendra and Carter's going, what's going on here? Yeah.
That wouldn't be cool. I wish I never said that.
I think that'd be kind of funny.
And I'm the one that opened this up.
Yeah.
I'm convinced now it's the dumbest thing I've ever said.
No, I think people are saying the dumbest thing you ever said. Hey, Jim, do you want to co-host a podcast with me?
Yeah. Some people might be of the mind, I should host a podcast. Anyway, Blackest Night. Pacing, wonderful. Second issue was... great build. Second issue blew me away even more than the first.
I know. This is one of those things when it first came out, everyone's like, will it live up to the hype? Won't it? It's not only living up to the hype, it's kicking, it's knocking it out of the park, Bingo. Man. Hoorah.
Amen.
Green Lantern, let you and I destroy that space junk.
Jim, let's talk a little bit. We'll talk casually about some of these other Blackest Night issues that came out, because we've had some big weeks. I got to say one thing, though. I've really been enjoying, like, this past week especially for me, there was a lot of Batman reading in general, plus Blackest Night Batman. And I've been enjoying the Bat stuff so much. But the Superman stuff has been equally brilliant. I don't think we're going to get to a lot of Codename Patriot this episode, but we're going to do a big talk on Codename Patriot coming up. But I'm liking getting multiple issues in a character's storyline like that, especially when they're this good right now. So it was actually, this past week was really good. And we got to talk some Wednesday's comics again.
I know.
Because 6 issues in, and I think a lot of these storylines are really
starting to flesh out, and you're seeing what it is, and there's just some... I tell you, I've gotten some changes of some of my opinions on some of the stuff I originally said. I was like, I don't know. I'm now going, ooh, that's real good.
What are some of your favorites that are now?
Well,
is that shifted, or ones that you're liking more?
My favorite is still Supergirl. I really just... I don't know. I think it's the paper feel.
It's
that
also fun. Yeah.
It's a fun thing, but it reminds me of what the Sunday funny papers should be. Mm-hmm. I use funny papers because that's when I read the comics, in the newspaper, in the Plain Dealer. There's some stuff I crack up, I laugh at, and there's other
Aquaman segments.
Yes.
And there was really funny.
He's talking on the shell phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, come on.
But he's talking on the shell phone, building up a whole bunch of side jobs that he's got to do. My brother's an electrician. I'm like, Aquaman's like an electrician.
Yeah.
Dude's got his main job as a superhero, but then he's building up all these side jobs.
Yeah, so that is still my favorite story. Mm-hmm. The Hawkman story is really cool.
Oh yeah. So you got bad.
I got over the situation, letting the birds die. I'm like, screw the birds. This is a cool story.
I like that he so much that his harness was used to try and crash land that plane.
He crash landed a plane. I'm like, now that is.
Are
tough.
you getting now why I see this character so cool though? In the hands of the right writers and artists, this character's awesome.
Yeah, definitely is awesome.
Kyle Baker, I'd read a Kyle Baker series with Hawkman as well.
Oh, big time. And I'd read this Hawkman. This is the Thanagarian Hawkman. I'd read this guy. This isn't. I don't think this is the reoccurring come from the dead.
No.
Thing. That's a cool part of Batman.
I got the vibe that this is the Silver Age one.
Right. So I'm digging that. I would read this, and the Dead Man stuff. You know what?
Yeah.
The Dead Man stuff was one of the things that I was kind of like, what's going on?
Especially that he's got a body again and he has to deal with that. But also, I like the twist at the end of this current issue that one of the 3 girls that were approaching him in his death was the girl that he was trying to save in the beginning of this whole thing. So it's all starting to come together now. But that's a big mystery because we're not 100% sure exactly what's going on yet in that story either.
Yeah,
you know what's wacky? The Metamorpho.
That's why I was like, I'm drawing a blank on I'm like, what's his dang name? Metamorpho. Yeah. Oh my God, that's something.
With Element Girl.
Yeah. When that first issue came out, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be anything. But now by the 6th issue, I'm starting to follow it. I'm starting to get into it. It's definitely
I love those ones. Hey Kids comics. Where they have the board game. In
the board game,
the Metamorpho board game,
the Chutes and Ladders. I was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" It was cracking me up, and it was something definitely. It's pulling me in.
Did you, when you were looking at that board game, were you like, "Can I play this? Is this actually playable?" Did you look at it that way?
Yeah.
I was looking at that too. I'm like, and I think you can.
I think you can.
I didn't get quite as far as where I attempted it, but I was looking at it. I'm like, I might try to play it. Actually, if any of our listeners did play it, let me know.
Yeah, I was. I didn't have any dice handy.
I'm jealous.
If I would have had dice handy,
I would have too.
I would have, because I was looking at my HeroClix going, I could use a HeroClix piece for the thing, and let's see, I'll get some dice. And I was like, where do I have dice? And I started looking for some dice. And I couldn't find any, just because I wanted to see if I was too, play.
Though. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, because I was clearly thinking that too. And at the end, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, I'm a moron for doing this. But then I'm like, but it's so cool.
Dude, I think it can play. I think it's playable.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's what I think is cool about it. I like that particular storyline, though, because every issue's been crafted differently. I've liked the ones where it's been the full page, has been like multiple panels within one big scene. Like they've told the story throughout using his body as often a way to separate the scenes and how everything was progressing. That's a very... The Superman story, I can see why that one so totally was in USA Today.
Yeah.
Because that Liber Mayo artwork is just jaw-dropping.
Yeah, that's some beautiful stuff. And it's definitely... You said it when we first talked about it, how they can still get great artwork on the cheaper paper. You don't need the high-gloss paper to get beautiful artwork.
I wonder if they're surprised by the transfer on that. Because that, to me, is just as high quality as the stuff that we were seeing in the Joker hardcover from Liber Mayo. And it's coming out on that thread. So I don't know. Paul Pope's stuff with Adam Strange. I'm learning a lot about the nature of what you can do with an Adam Strange story. Like that when he goes back to Earth, he's actually in this particular story is a different. Like he's aged differently than he is on Ran, which I thought was an interesting little twist. We had multiple weeks though where Adam Strange wasn't even in the book.
Yeah.
Because he got zoomed away by the Zeta beam. And we didn't know where he was, which I thought was an interesting twist. But I like that because of his age, he's having trouble memory-wise trying to figure out a way to get back to Ran. And also is questioning himself on whether or not any of it's real or if it's just a dream, which adds in an interesting...
And is it really just a dream, or is it real? What is it?
It feels very Flash Gordon now. It feels very much Buster Crabbe, Flash Gordon, which to me, that's what you want from Adam Strange.
Yeah. Definitely, it's got a different feel, different vibe to it, which it's
I can see it as a black and white cereal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. And the Batman story and the Catwoman and the Demon story.
Yeah.
That I'm still liking that. That was one of the ones that I initially clung to, and I was like, yeah, these are still very good.
Well, it was funny. I clung to it originally because of Catwoman. Now it's because of the way the story shifted. Yeah. I'm very into the Demon.
Yeah.
Because we're not seeing a whole lot of Selina now. It's really focused on him and Morgaine.
Yeah.
And their history there, it's interesting. The whole thing. Do you have a favorite strip? Do you have one that you just jump to immediately?
It is the Supergirl. That is literally when I grab it, I open it up, I find that one, and I read that one first. And then usually I'll go to Hawkman, and read that one, and then I'll start at the beginning and look through some stuff and see what they got.
Do you read it out of order?
Yeah, I definitely. Right there is the order I read it at.
I read it in order. I do. And I'm not saying you're wrong for doing it. I actually found that. I think that's interesting. How do you read it? I mean, that's kind of cool.
It's easy, and it's funny. The Hawkman's the easiest one to find. If I want to jump to Hawkman first, because I had a couple weeks, I just go last page, and then I'm like, okay, where's Supergirl? Oh, okay, there's Supergirl. Mm-hmm. Then I read those two are the 1 and 2. They'll switch order. That I read first. Part of the it's funny. Part of the Hawkman I have to read is just because of the obsession you've had with him. That I'm like, okay, let's see. Then we had our initial disagreements kind of on it, and as the story's going on, that one speech he had in like the issue 2 about how your men are down and I'm going to just bash your head in kind of Hawkman hoorah speech really pulled me in. And then as we're seeing more of the fight sequence and we see him land the plane, it's just there's just some cool these moments on Hawkman that's drawing me to him. But it's the same humor and funniness of the Supergirl that's keeping me jumping to that one. So they're two completely different of the spectrum that I'm really enjoying.
I would say right now, my favorite, obviously, Hawkman's my favorite because it's great to see such well-written and well-drawn solo Hawkman. So, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. But you know what I'm like? Commandy is one that I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying. I think that artwork is stunning. The story's very well written. We talked about how the Paul Pope one feels very much like a pulp serial. The Commandy one has a feel of the old classic Flash Gordon comic strips, which I'm really liking. I like the way that that's being developed and fleshed out. You know what one's growing on me that I was very confused by initially, but I've really gotten into? Wonder Woman. There was one, it was like a lot of times when I picked it up, I'm like, okay, which way do I even read this? Because it changes from week to week how you read the story, which with the way it's, and the panels sometimes are so small that it's hard to tell which one's next. But I've got to admit, and I'm going to change my tune, that was my initial experience with it. It was, and I got to be honest, it was week 5 and week 6 where that story really started to grab for me. That's when I'm really getting into Wonder Woman now on her quest for all of the pieces of the Amazon artifacts that she's looking for. Which I don't know. Are you enjoying that story? Is that one where it grew on me?
It's one of those stories where I can't say I'm not enjoying it, but it is one of the things that I'm working at, that I really got to earn that read. So I'm not at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'd really like a story like this. But I'm not at the point going, oh my God, this is terrible. Yeah. I don't have negative feelings towards it, but I don't have the overwhelming positive feelings towards it too. And part of it is what you're saying, how you gotta get the groove of how it's going. And it's, when you're reading some of the stories, they're very clear cut, boom, 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 very fun, hey, this is kind of funny. Then you go into that one, and you're like, okay, what's going on? What's happening here? And literally with that one, I've read that story probably the most times of all the other ones.
Same with me.
Just so I can get a grasp of what's happening. And I've literally took it was 1 through 5, I think I did this with, where I opened it up to the Wonder Woman page, and I read 1, then I read 2, then I read 3, then I read 4, then I read 5, and just boom, 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 like that, to try to get a groove on what's going on. And the way the art style is absolutely beautiful, and I appreciate just the artistic nature of it, but it does throw me off a little bit. Because my art style I like, so and this isn't kind of jiving with the classic comic book realistic feels like to it that I like, where the panels are a definite flow through and you can see and your eyes follow the page the way they're supposed to go. So there's some conflicts with me, but it's still I can't say it's bad, and I won't say it's bad because it is a good story, and I am curious to see how it ends. So it's not something where I'm like saying, I don't want it. It's not your favorite out of the batch. But it's not favorite. But I am curious to see the ending to it. It's something where if they were to say, well, because it's not a popular story, we're pulling it, I'd be upset because I want to see how this ends.
Oh yeah, I
want to see the beginning to end on this. So it's got me there. So that's something where it's got me wanting to see the ending. But it's not something where it's not my Supergirl. It's not my Hawkman that I'm jumping to.
Yeah, Supergirl's a great. You keep mentioning that one, and I agree with you. That one's a very enjoyable read. I would say right now, Hawkman's my favorite. After that, I would go to. It's a pretty close tie between Metamorpho and Commandy. On those two, kind of falling pretty close to me. After that, boy. That's where it gets kind of tough for me, because I'm enjoying a lot of them, but those are clearly like my top 3 right now are those. I'm Superman, I think, is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. I'm waiting to see what's going on with Superman, though. I think that's Superman and Batman. It's funny. I'm enjoying both of those. I don't feel like I know enough of where the story's heading yet, though, to make a decision. And I'm finding that with a lot of these. Like, as a product, as a whole, Wednesday's Comics is delightful. I think the artwork is fantastic. Very much what you said about Wonder Woman. It was funny, week 5 and week 6 is where I got into Wonder Woman. Like, if you'd asked me in week 1, 2, 3, and 4 when we initially had our discussion about it, I hope I mentioned it on the show. My experience with Wonder Woman was I was enjoying the art, I was enjoying the presentation, enjoying the story, but I was finding things confusing. I wasn't quite sure if this was a dream or what, and I think we're supposed to feel that way, but that's kind of where I was at. I was as dreamlike as she was and as confused as she was. Week 6 is where it really, for me, I'm like, okay, I'm really getting this. I'm also getting what the artist is doing with playing around with panel placement and order of reading the story to do something different visually each week. If you go back knowing that he's done something different visually each week as far as the order you read in order to do a certain visual presentation, I read back and I read 1 through 6 then, really found it enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I was having trouble initially. Always thought the artwork was sharp and interesting and dynamic, but I was like very confused.
there's a little confusion.
Yeah.
So,
but I like this.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I've got to say I like about Wednesday's comic as a product. I told you what my top 3 are, but the whole thing, and it is interesting that neither of us are saying Superman or Batman right now, because I think that those are typically characters expecting to jump to immediately, and I think they're stories that, because of they haven't played out yet.
Yeah, and
I think by week 12, it would be interesting to have a talk about this and say, which ones do you think ended up the best? Yeah. Which ones at the end made you appreciate the whole? Because this is meant to be told as a 12-week story, so I don't think we've gotten there yet. Hal Jordan, we didn't talk about that at all. How are you liking that story?
I'm liking it. It's got that classic feel to it. It's got the New Frontier type feel to it.
Yeah, that's a good example. That's when I feel very much it would be very comfortable being set in the New Frontier universe.
Yeah.
I like that we're getting a lot more exploration of Hal out of the costume than we are in, which I thought was interesting. It was funny. We haven't seen a whole lot of Hal on screen as Green Lantern. I'm not complaining about that, though, because I always like Test Pilot Hal.
Yeah.
And how he has to deal with some of the mistakes of his own cockiness in his past, something that he had learned to mature and grow out of. And I like that kind of exploration as well. But yeah, like I said, my top 3 right now are Hawkman, Commandy, and Element Man. And I would agree with you that Supergirl would probably be my 4th, because it's very fun, and the artwork, it's the Power Girl team, which I love Power Girl.
Yeah, it's definitely, for me, it is, I'd say Supergirl, Hawk, and then maybe the Catwoman Demon, maybe the Superman. It's the 3rd spot is kind of 3, 4, 5. Those spots are kind of cloudy because it's, as you said with the Superman artwork, I'm really loving it, but I want to see. I don't think the story has built enough for me to say yes. And same thing with the Batman. It's and even Green Lantern.
Why I'm almost,
these stories are still building.
I sound very tentative as far as when I'm making my placements, and that's why, because there's stories that I'm aware of, like. My reasoning why they're not in the top spots are because they haven't played out yet where they logically need to go. And one of the strengths of Wednesday's comics is the varied storytelling. I like the fact that this one has a bang over here while this one's developing over here. I think that's been a strength as we've gotten into week 6 now. Stories are now in different places where we didn't have that in the first couple of weeks.
The Metal Men. That's a great story going on.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, that's a fun story.
Well, we've got the mystery of who the man is, the mysterious man that was sitting there. One of our listeners sent an email about that, or it was, I think it was a damn it, Norge, on the forum. Who is that mysterious man and why? But for me, I'm actually, I don't know if you're this way, I'm waiting for an announcement of what's going to follow Wednesday's comics because I've been liking having this weekly so much.
Yeah, and I like this look and this feel to it. So hopefully they do something with it. And I'm curious what the trade's going to be. I really want to know how they're going to do that. If they're going to do a trade, are they going to do oversize? Are they? Because it
has to be.
Oh man!
Because to me, it would be a disservice if it's not the same size that it is. So I don't know how else.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, remember the old big comic books when we were kids?
Yeah.
Like Muhammad Ali versus Batman and stuff like that. That's how it should be collected. Remember those?
Cool.
The treasuries.
Yeah.
The DC Treasury editions. This should be a Treasury edition.
Well, this is bigger than the Treasury edition, though.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So, will they keep it the regular its size? I don't know.
Oh. Or will they collect it all? I mean, will it be volume 1, volume 2? I would like to see an interesting collection for me would be to have the stories in order. Superman, Metamorpho, all the complete story collected together.
Oh, okay. So all 12 weeks, all 12 weeks, all 12 weeks. Like that? Yeah. Oh, definitely.
See, that to me, if I'm going to buy a collected edition of
that's something
that's how I want it to be collected.
That would be kind of neat because these aren't crisscrossing or connecting, so they could pull everything together. And that would be volume 1 would be these, volume 2 would be these, volume 3 would be these, volume 4 would be these. Yeah.
That would be what would be the incentive for me to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I'm very happy with what I've got. I love it on the newsprint. I like opening it up, unfolding it, and reading it. Like, I'm finding that fun. So I don't know that I feel this overwhelming need to buy it collected. But if they collect it in a way that's unique to my experience of reading it in the the current paper version that I'm unfolding, then I would consider purchasing it.
Yeah.
So because it's funny with the economy and how many books DC's publishing more and more monthlies. I'm trying to save more slots for like the Red Circle characters. Did you read those yet?
No, I haven't read them yet.
Or Inferno?
I have them, but I haven't read them.
I really liked both of those. I was kind of hoping I didn't. Being totally honest, because I'm like, I'm hoping I don't like these because then I won't want to pick up the solos. So it was Hangman and Inferno that have been out so far. I really liked them. Like where, and the way that these minis are working, I won't spoil anything for you, but where like Hangman's one shot ends, it continues into Inferno's.
Oh, okay.
You can read them separately because, Inferno's story then carries on in there. But for people that are reading all of them, you get an interconnecting story that kind of matches and fits as well. So it was complete, though. The Hangman issue was a complete story. I don't want to spoil too much because you haven't read them yet. But other than to say, God, I was hoping I didn't like them. Because I'm excited for... Did you hear about Batman Doc Savage by...
No.
Yeah, it was... Brian Azzarello is going to be writing it. It's a six. Man. I think it's a 6-issue mini.
Yeah, okay, I'm in.
Or no, I think that's a one shot, and then I think there's a 6-issue mini that's going to follow it. That's kind of introducing. I think that's how it's working. Please don't quote me on this. Anybody who's listening, I'm spreading this off the top of my head. But Doc Savage is a character. I like those pulpy heroes, and I think that's something that will.
Doc Savage, Man in Brown.
Yeah. So it'd be fun to see Doc Savage and Batman kind of team up. It's always Batman.
Yeah.
Batman the Spirit, which was great. Batman Doc Savage. I'd like to see those two together. So Brian Azzarello's the right one with 100 Bullets to write Doc Savage, though. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, curious to see what he does with it.
Yeah. It is interesting, though, to see so many new books being announced. It does. I am excited with comics going. I mean, like we're seeing actually more companies are exploring the digital option, which is great. More exposure for comics. I don't think digital comics are ever going to take away from paper comics. I think they're only going to add new readers to paper comics. For the one or two that may say, okay, now I'm only going to get digital, I think you're going to get just as many. For every two, you're going to get just as many. They're going to go and start buying paper that didn't before, that learned for the first time about it through. Because how many people like... Video games are a great example of this. Kids who like video games will typically buy toys and tie-ins relating to the video games. I think it's going to be the same thing with comics when people read them digitally. PSP now is those Iverse Media ones.
Yeah.
They're going to be on the PSP now. I know Marvel signed up with them.
Nice.
To have comics. So I don't think it's going to be their entire line, but I'm sure there's going to be some comics coming out that
That's
way.
kind of cool.
Which I'm assuming that means they're going to come to the iPod Touch as well, I'm hoping. But I'm hoping to see some announcements from DC on digital versions of their books. So I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm hoping we'll see some of that because I think it's a great way to reach a new fan base. And I think people are too worried about it being the end of paper comics. I don't think that's ever going to be the case. I just think it's another way to touch a different fan base. And I hope it'll prevent the cancellation of certain books.
Yeah, if you got a book that's not doing so well, maybe kick it over to digital medium because it costs you less to make the digital.
A great example of this, Blue Beetle's solo series. I think Blue Beetle is a character by his nature and the way the character is that I think would have a great print comic, but would also, in the digital version of that comic, reach a digital fan because of the nature of that character. He's a cool tech kind of character.
Yeah, he's a techno geek, so he is going to appeal to the techno geeks out there.
I'm a video game fan, and to me, what's cool about him is he's a video game guy. He really, in a good way, who fits very well in the DC universe. And I think too many books like that get canceled that could reach a different kind of audience. So... Anyway, we're way off Blackest Night.
Yeah, no, how do we talk holy tangents, Batman?
Well, because we just started talking about the month and what we were reading in general. I think sometimes those are fun topics because I think we were emotionally charged Wednesday's comics.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit of that, and we're 6 weeks in, so we might as well have had a Wednesday's comics chat. Desecrated Graves. Talking about Desecrated Graves.
Oh, man.
Now, here's the funny thing. Because Bruce isn't around, I didn't expect to see... what was going on here at his gravesite. Because they were looking at the graves, and the graves are... that's Thomas and Martha Wayne, right?
Yeah. But, see, now, is their grave completely desecrated, or is it just Bruce's? Because I thought it was just Bruce's.
Just Bruce's, but because theirs were so close... I guess because, theirs have been...
Yeah, they're open, but they're still there.
Right.
They didn't take anything from them.
No.
So I think I don't know how much of that was, it from
I think
the
just
desecration
collateral
or
damage.
Yeah, collateral damage, or even Dick doing a preemptive strike,
Just to
saying,
make sure
just
that
to make
nothing
sure I'm
happened
going
to
to
them.
take these bodies out as well.
Right.
See, that's where I couldn't tell which one it was, but I did seeing the emotional response from Damian. That was just, it was kind of a whoa kind of moment. This is the kid who was raised by the League of Assassins. He has that strut and that swagger. Where
And
he says
also
he
not
knows everything.
supposed to let people, he doesn't want to
Yeah.
let people know that anything is getting to him. This is spooking him.
Yeah, this got to him. This
Yeah.
type of stuff, this type of freaky stuff got to him. And I loved seeing that about him.
Yeah, and it was, Damien is a hard guy to connect with. I like that about him because there's something about his nature that makes you want to see what he's going to do next. But you don't like Damien. Like, Damien's not a character I typically like. He's cocky, he's brash. He's not a likable guy. This was one of the stories where I started to read, and I've got to commend Peter Tomasi on this. I liked Damien in this.
Yes.
And he didn't feel off from the Batman books.
Right. He's not just the whiny little snot that you want to smack around.
Mm-hmm.
This is a kid who's got issues. This is a kid who needs a Batman to guide him. This is a kid this is the troubled teen that can be pulled out. There's good in there that, that Batman, that Dick Grayson can bring out of him, that Alfred can bring out of him. You see the hero potential in him, and you really do see why, Dick did say, hey, I got to make him by Robin. I got to make him the sidekick. I got to work with him. I got to help him. I can't let him be another Jason Todd. And I thought that was just a really cool kind of like vibe coming from this when, he gets the emotional responses, then he immediately shuts off. He immediately tries to put the walls back up. I didn't say I was afraid. I didn't say, and he's on the defensive against Grayson because he let his guard down. He let him see some of his emotional responses. And when Dick is trying to be the mentor, trying to be that, the positive father figure in him, Damien's got to back off. He's got to put the walls back up so there's no emotional connection there. And this is a classic troubled teen, child who comes from a broken home, from abused home, from just this negative lifestyle. These are some just classic symptoms of the emotional detachment that, a lot of the foster kids and a lot of the orphans and the abandoned kids go through as they're growing up, and I kind of ate it up.
Boston Brand, this bit where he rises, it's so, to me, this is one, if people are wondering, why should I read Blackest Night Batman? We get our real glimpse here. Boston Brand's body rises up, and he's like, his instinct is, in these situations, he's so used to his dead man leaping into the body and correcting things by that method. So he leaps before he looks, and he even says that to himself, if anyone can save me, it's me. And he goes to do that, and boy, does that go horribly wrong. So I merge with my bag of bones and try to take control. Put myself back in the dark, back in the dirt where I belong. But it seems that my bones have other ideas. I get a glimpse of everything that made me who I am, of all the horrors and loss that came before, and all the horror and loss that is sure to come. It's interesting, the distinction there of all the horrors and loss that came before. Again, this type of stuff, when I'm looking at that, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. It is because of what made him who he is, that his body was chosen. It's those horrific events. Again, when we talked about people that couldn't be brought back to life. He can't be brought back to life because he's one of those who, I would assume, the Superman from Earth 2, when he makes an appearance, he's not going to be able to come back because of that as well. I think our options, our question marks at the moment, are the ones with the hearts.
Yeah.
But he's one of them that because of this. I did like that. Who are you going to go to?
It goes to Batman.
Right.
It makes sense. It's somebody he's been in before, someone he knows he can trust, but he's also the man who usually has the answers. That's the guy who is the mindset, who is, if anybody can come up with a plan, it's Batman. No matter what you deal with, he's got the plan, he's got the options, he's ready for it. He's either thought this could someday happen, or he knows something's going to happen. It's, he's the go-to guy, he's the strategist, and I liked that that's who he went to, and he's like, whoop, we may got Houston Control, we have a problem here. This isn't Batman, what's going on?
Dude, we've learned here, Roland Desmond, that's Black Mask.
Yeah.
So Black Mask is coming out of his grave. So who's Black Mask? Are we going to find out here?
I don't know.
That's real interesting. The original, of course, ventriloquist is here.
I like that. And they have his black ring is creating a Scarface.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I wonder if we're going to see the ventriloquist, Black Lantern do any talking, or if he's going to do everything through his Scarface. Or
I always liked Magpie from years ago. Margaret Pye.
Yeah.
Magpie was. I remember her first appearance. Jeez, it seems like a lifetime ago. The Magpie. Did you read The Cult?
Yes.
Deacon Blackfire.
Yeah.
Is back, which is cool. It's a neat little collection of villains. But the probably the most interesting and surprising for me out of this one was the fact that Black Mask
is,
and how is that going to play out in all of this? It is funny though that when Deadman finding out that Bruce Wayne was dead this way.
Yeah, and he jumps in. Wait, Dick Grayson, what's going on there? And I like how he flashes and he sees what's going on, and all the different scenes they show in Dick's life. They show him kissing Barbara. They show just who his life is going through and all that. So but the neat thing for me is as Brand is in there talking to Damian, going, "Hey, who are you?" Damian immediately recognized this isn't Dick Grayson. Something's wrong. Go on the offensive, and he just starts punching him while they're driving, saying, let him go.
You're giving a little too much credit to him. You got an angry-looking man who's looking at you saying, Grayson's Batman, Bruce is dead, and just who the hell are you, kid? It's a pretty dead giveaway that it's a different guy.
Okay, that's kind of Johnny Obvious, all right? Yeah, he's not the great detective.
I'm Robin, and who the hell are you? And then he goes through a whole other tirade before he gets punched.
Yeah.
Okay. You're making it sound like Damian was some kind of genius.
Yeah.
He really wasn't. He punched him after like 20 minutes of dialogue.
Okay, maybe he's a little slow on the uptake, but I do like the fact that he kept swinging.
He did. Well, I liked that Boston Brand realized that he's better off switching bodies because Dick Grayson's going to at least know who he is.
Yeah, and plus I think he's getting sick of getting punched by him.
Right.
And now here's a funny thing I was thinking of when Boston jumps into Damian. Mm-hmm. Now my first reaction would be going, "Hey, what the hell happened, man? How come my jaw is hurting? What'd you do?"
Right. Yeah, because he wouldn't know. He wasn't conscious during that point. So I liked that about his powers.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you see with characters like that the person's pushed to the back and they're kind of watching what's going on, which would be horrific. Like, it would not be cool to be taken. Like, I would be doggone ticked. I would be like, dude, I just watch. I don't know what do you think would be, actually, let me take that back. What do you think would be scarier? Waking up and not knowing what the heck just happened to you, or having to watch it from behind powerless?
For me, it would be watching it powerless.
Yeah. That
would be scarier. I've had moments.
This is like a doctor's visit where you're knocked out.
I've had moments in my life when I don't completely remember everything that happened. Now, granted, I've usually been told stories, and I'm like, "Oh, I did that. Oh, God, I can't believe I did that. I'm not drinking again." I've had those moments, and a couple of my doctor appointments that I've had where I was out cold, and I don't want to know what they did, but those moments I have are all right. I'm not like terrified, but if there's like stuff where I'm seeing it, and I did something like, "Oh God, I can't believe I just did that," and you're just watching it slowly play out, and you're like, "No," that slow motion type stuff. Those are the fearsome times in my life. Those are the times like, I can't believe I just said that, or I can't believe I just did that. Oh God, I'm an
Ignorance
idiot.
is bliss.
Exactly. Ignorance is 100% bliss.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think both are creepy in their own way, but I think I'm powerless, sitting there and powerless and watching somebody else do that. That's got to be terrifying. Saw old Damian's life story when I jumped him. Gotta say, good luck with this kid. You're sure as hell gonna need it.
Yeah, the kid's got some issues, man. And there's stuff that Dick doesn't even know about him yet. There's some super freaky stuff that has happened to this kid that hasn't come out yet that will one day probably make a really cool Batman story. But yeah, this is a definite kid who, as I said in the beginning of talking about this is a kid who's had the traumatic life, who's had these epic, horrific events happen to him, that he needs this type of guidance. And I really liked, when they're looking and you see a bit of the deductive going on with Dick, and he's thinking, okay, the dead is rising. We got to take a look. Oh, my God. And he starts thinking of his parents, of Tim's parents, of all these dead people who could come back, and he's checking it out. He's doing the research, trying to figure out what's going on.
This shot of John and Mary Grayson.
Yeah.
Wow, is the artwork great on that. Because you see them in their old acrobatic costumes like they're ready to go to the circus. And again, I got to compliment the tailors of the Black Lanterns. Really, the other Lantern Corps need to...
they need to pay attention.
Because, I mean, they've been sharp. I got to admit, I love all the color schemes and everything that's going on right now, but Black Lantern's winning on costume design because they're making some really ugly people look pretty snazzy.
Yeah, they look good, man. They make this look good.
Yeah. The Drakes, obviously. I knew the Drakes were coming. These weren't surprises for me.
Yeah.
When they announced this, it was...
I'm waiting for the Tim Drake confrontation with his parents, saying, you no longer take our name. You're now Wayne. Just trying to get that emotional response out of him that way, and seeing he'll know it's not his actual parents in front of him, but it's still, there will be that emotional response, and that's the one I am worried about. I'm like, I don't think that anything's going to happen to Tim because he's a cool character, and they're not going to do that. But he is the guy that I'm like going, oh no, this is going to be painful on this guy because he's had nothing but pain going on stretches in his life, and it's not looking forward to what's going on. But the neat thing is when Dick calls him, he answers the phone. In the Red Robin series, we're seeing he's keeping himself away from everybody. He's pushed his friends away. He's running solo now, and he's dealing with people he really shouldn't be dealing with and partnering with those people, but he is separated from the Bat family. So I like the fact that he took the call, and I like the fact that Damian recognized that they need to call in more people. That Damian recognized that, Damian and him butt heads, and Damian throws down the cocky struts and, Grayson, Drake, you're nothing, and he makes sure he calls him Drake because he's not a real quote-unquote Wayne. Just kind of gives him those little jabs into Tim. Even Damian's like, yeah, call him in. It's... I like seeing that, development in Damian, that he sees the team necessary, that just the two of them ain't going to be enough.
I'm in the middle of your parents. Their graves are empty, Tim, and I'm betting my folks are gone too. On my way.
Yeah.
Just very interesting switch. Looking to see, I got some questions coming out of this with the Blackest Night Batman. Jason Todd, is he going to be, he's definitely going to be a target, right? He's got to appear in this.
Yeah, he's dead and come back.
Yeah. So he's got to be a target.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to become a Blackest, what are your predictions? Blackest Lantern, yay or nay?
Oh,
or
God.
Black Lantern,
yeah.
Yay or nay?
I hope not. I really hope not, because I don't want to see, I don't want to see Jason die, because I don't know if the Black Lanterns come back.
Yeah.
So... yeah, he's definitely going to be a target, and
or
he should be at least. But I don't know, man. We've seen Jason, survive some pretty tough situations. Can he deal with a Black Lantern?
I'm assuming we're going to see him in this.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to see him.
Yeah, I like the whole bat signal with the closure, though. I'm assuming that's the villains that we saw leaving. These are the Black Lantern villains.
Yeah,
that we saw. So that'll be cool. The artwork on this was really great. It was funny. Were you even worried that whether these were going to be good or not?
No, there was no worry.
When I saw like Peter Tomasi writing this, what really surprised me though, I got to say this: the art team. I was not, admittedly, I was familiar with John Dell, for inks, but the art on this, I was not familiar with this penciler, and this issue looked really, really good. I hope this is the same art all the way through this mini.
Yeah, definitely. This was a beautiful looking piece. I didn't really know who the art team was, with
John
me,
Dell's the one with Howard Porter.
Yeah,
we've seen him on JLA. He's going to be coming up, to see him with this really was another nice partnership.
Yeah. See, and for me, I still am a writer heavy. So because Tomasi I know is going to be good. So it was just the fact that I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. This is going to be a nice tie-in. So this should be a pretty cool story. Plus, I wanted to see what's going on, and I figured this is going to give us probably some of our more information on Bruce and what's going on with him. Why is he the gateway? And I was figuring it's going to be some tie-ins that way.
I always say that, and I shortchange myself, though, because, I'll be honest with you, I think I always say I'm the more of the writer guy because of the way I approach my comics. I tend to read the story first, but since we've done the show, I will honestly say I'm equally a writer guy as I am an art guy because of the fact that I reread all my comics for the purpose of enjoying the art. So I'm going to change that, because I usually always say I'm a writer guy, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case anymore. Not that I'm any less of a writer guy. I think my appreciation of the artwork, because of the way we reread now and actually pay attention and enjoy the art more, I think I've always been more of on the writer end because I don't have the artistic talent, and that's my connection is more with the writing end of it. That's where I think I'm more talented, so I connect with that easier. But I will say that through the show and rereading, for enjoyment of the art, to really kind of bask in what these people are doing and paying attention to the tiny details they put in the artwork. Because really, if we were more the writer guy, we wouldn't read comics.
It's funny because
I think we should probably correct ourselves in that, because why wouldn't we read a novel instead?
Well, it's funny, as you're talking, I'm thinking, and I'm like, but I buy books based on who the writer is. Then I started thinking, I bought All-Star Batman just because of the Jim Lee artwork.
Right.
I picked up the For Tomorrow trade initially because of the artwork. I knew it would look beautiful in that artwork. I knew I wanted to see his Superman on that big size. I'm like, well, I'm getting a trade. You know what? I can get a pretty good discount here. Let me get it. Boom. And it was, so there's two examples of artwork that I got because of it,
The best comics, let's be honest, whether you're a writer guy or an art guy, however you want to term yourself, if you want to even go to those places, the best comics are the ones where, like, this is a great example, it's Blackest Night Batman, because, if I'm going to mention the artwork, it was I actually checked for the penciler because I enjoyed the artwork. I'm like, who did this? I really wanted to know, so I went back and checked through it, and that's how I knew. I'm like, I don't recognize the name, but boy, was this enjoyable. That's why I noted it, because it was such a sharp and good-looking book. So I think, for me, my comfort level is more on the writing end. I agree with you, but I do think my favorite comics, the ones that I really go gaga over, are easily the ones where, Secret Six, why is that my favorite book? I love the writer. I love the art.
Yeah. It's kind of like saying, are you a Superman or a Batman guy? Like, I'm a Superman guy, but I'm really loving Batman. I'm a Batman guy. But this new Krypton's great. Yeah. So you may have that strength and an element that you're comfortable with, but you still can appreciate, you still can enjoy, and you still can be pulled into the other story.
Well, it's funny. If you were to ask me, are you a Batman guy, or what are your favorite superheroes right now? My two favorite superheroes remain Batman and Hawkman. There is no, that's not a joking on the show. Batman's been the guy that I've been in Hawkman. But what's my favorite comic right now? Secret Six.
And he's not in they're not in either.
No. The only connection to Batman really in Secret Six would be, there are a lot of, there's Catman, there's
Bane.
Deadshot, there's Bane. There actually is a pretty deep Batman connection. I was just going to say there's not really a Batman connection. I'm like, well, yeah, there is, sort of. But it's not a Batman book. It is.
Right.
It's very much its own entity. And so it's very funny that I would say that. But going on what you're saying about Superman and Batman, I am enjoying Codename Patriot right now as much as I'm enjoying all the great stuff that's going on in Batman Reborn.
Yeah.
To talk about those two characters. And Wonder Woman, adding her into the mix with her. Geez, that's great every month. So.
I know.
Before we actually head deep into Blackest Night Green Lantern Corps 39, one of the things we were talking before about relationships like Hal and Barry. Were you going to say this too?
Oh, dude, man, your mind reading me.
I'm sorry. I'm like, I didn't want to take this from you. One of the things that I'm loving about the Green Lantern Corps book is not only these wonderful new lanterns that are being explored, and the old classic ones like Arisia and stuff like that, but Guy and Kyle.
Another
very
classic
much,
buddy cops. Oh, yeah.
And they play off each other so well. Their differences are what make them so interesting. Guy has become, for me, I've always enjoyed him as, like, comic relief. because I loved him in Justice League International as the guy you loved to hate, but then there was that part of you that liked him anyway.
Yeah.
But now he's just become, and I think because of Justice League International, he's become one of these characters that you just really, as he's matured, love.
Yeah.
You never lost the core of who Guy is. I just love seeing these two together. It is funny how Kyle's relationship, we get some more, as these issues have been going on, some more details into his relationship with
Natu.
Yeah. And how hard this is going to be on him, because he definitely cares about her. But does he love her the way he has his previous loves? And that's going to come to head for him.
I loved just Guy's take on this. One, I love the fact that Guy knew what was going on. He's like, is that obvious? Only for people who know you. Mm-hmm. And that is that best friends would know that. If one is Jones over somebody, they're going to know, hey, he's got a thing for her. And the fact that he's like, hey, you're both alive. She's alive, you're alive. You go with what is there. Don't let your past keep you from a present. And that is a very Guy Gardner thing, where he is that, that bravado, that fun, that power, that, he's the beer swigging, the man's man type of thing, but he still is this cool guy. He's a good friend to him. And this is one of those moments where, he's not being all bravado. He's giving him some honest, good, solid advice. Yeah, who knows if this is going to be the love of your life? But you gotta go after it. You gotta pursue it. You can't let what might have been hold you back to what might be coming up. This is, just classic kind of getting over, that whole, you have that love of your life who leaves you, and you're constantly in that depression, you're in that funk. This is the speech that gets you out of the funk, saying, no, dude, you had that, and it was a great memory, and it's a great thing to have, but that's not who you are now. Right. That's not your future. That's your past. Mm-hmm. Go with the future. Go with what you are. Go where your heart.
I think that's a very honest balance, though, because I think we can all look back at our past loves and things like that, especially if they were long-term loves, and you can appreciate what that was at the time. But I think what's hard for people sometimes is to close the door on that past, appreciate it for what it was, and yet move on.
Yeah.
And,
that's tough.
Yeah, it's tough for everybody. But I think that's kind of the reality. Again, another great message in this book. The moment, the 2-page spread where we see all the rings.
But it's funny. Once again, classic horror movie moment.
Oh, yeah.
You have this great,
it was like the birds from Hitchcock.
And just come flying in, the sound of the flies. And I love, they keep always bringing it sounds like the buzzing of flies coming in. And the creepy thing is they're in outer space. You hear nothing in outer space unless, it's, inside their little energy bubbles. So that's, how can they hear this buzzing? Is it, in their head? Is it in their mind? Is it something, creepy, supernatural stuff? Or is it just there? Is it just they're seeing it and they're making it happen? I don't know. It's a definite adds to the horror factor to this.
It reminds me very much of the birds from Hitchcock.
Oh, big time.
Because remember the sound of that one. That was another one where visually it was creepy.
Yeah.
But it was also the sounds of hearing those birds coming that terrified you. I got to compliment it. This is a sexy book. Patrick Gleason. It's a very beautiful. The women in this one, very powerful and beautiful.
Yeah.
The guys in this one, same thing. It's an interesting style that's very unique to this book. I don't feel that Green Lantern Corps looks like any other book. And it's something I really like about it, its own feel. Taxum.
What bunch of putzes.
Well, they were putzes,
really hate these guys.
They were putzes before this all happened. Yeah. She rallied him, and I'm like, okay. I actually really like this, though, because let me tell you why. A lot of times that cheesy thing happens where because they've gone through this thing with their hero, all of a sudden they're going to be better people, and everyone's going to rally behind it. This is the reality. Once a putz, always a putz.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah, and that's what's great about this. I thought this was an awesome moment. And Arisia, she is so much the professional here.
Yeah.
She's trying her best to hold it together. And the Tales of the Core issue with her like origin story.
Yes, that was awesome.
I really liked that, how
yeah.
she always wanted this and had kind of a bad way to wait for your turn.
Every member of her family before her gets the ring and then dies. Gets the ring, then dies. I'm like, oh, yeah. But you know what? It's the family legacy, maybe. There's be better family legacies to live up to, but it's still, a cool definition of who she is. And I liked when she goes and she's talking to Sodom as he's sitting in the sun, and she's talking, you are right about them, and you see her just, she was like angry with him that he didn't really want to help his people, and she's like, yeah, they have it coming. What do you, and I can't wait for him to separate himself from the sun, and it goes back to being red, and they all lose their powers.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to, I hope we get to see that. I hope that's not an off-camera thing. I want to see them flying through. Look at us. We're super powerful. Uh-oh, lost my powers, and fall.
Right.
I want to see that. Granted, you never want to see the heroes just sit back and let,
Now, would you be
die.
mad about that the way you were bad about the birds in Wednesday's comics?
See, difference being, these people.
I know, and I'm going to totally agree with you. Go ahead.
These people
set
are
you up for that on
putzes.
purpose. Yes.
These people are putzes, and
I
they
agree.
got it coming.
I agree.
Those
I
innocent, sweet, innocent birds didn't have it coming.
I got to admit, I'm a huge Hawkman fan. I'm adoring. My favorite story in Wednesday's comics. I'm loving that Kyle Baker Hawkman story. It's great solo Hawkman. I got to agree. And
He was a
I
little bit of a
don't know if I even want to put it into words right now. There's a little bit of that where I'm like, okay, I can see his point a little bit. I'm going to say it very softly because it's Hawkman. It's great.
Yeah.
But I mean, this right here. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see them be road pancakes.
Yeah, I want to see them fall. I would love to see her sit there and watch them fall. Now, granted, she's a hero, so she will save them. But I want to see I want to see her let them sweat it out. Wait till the last minute, then throw out the glove hand to catch them. But I do want to see it. I want to, especially the Sodom's father. There's just so much I just want to see him just suffer. Oh God, I hate him like I hate Amanda Waller. It's that level of intensity.
You know what I love about this storytelling though is we hate him so much because we've seen Sodom's, like that one shot from Sinestro Corps of Sodom's, so plays into why we hate him right now. What we've seen recently with him has only added fuel to that fire, which has been great. One of the things I find interesting with these rings, we're learning a lot about just that you can't stop them.
No.
Like, you're talking about, these are like the biggest, the Lantern Honor Guard
is throwing up shields, and they're going through the shields.
Yes. So these are the people with the strongest amount of willpower. These are the people that can definitely overcome the yellow right out of the starting gate. Because I like how there's that hierarchy now.
Yeah.
The rookies can't do that yet. But, the Honor Guard, that actually has added more to me to the power of like a Kilowog.
Yeah.
Or a Guy Gardner or stuff. And this is great to see them like this. That added to the horror for me, knowing that there's different levels. Mm-hmm. But also we get to see here John T. Chance.
Yeah.
Kat Matui. These lanterns that we've seen either in this or from the past that are being brought back. Tomar Ray.
Yeah, that's one that's going to hurt a lot of people because he was well loved. And, I loved seeing how the Lanterns were fighting, and then they realized, wait a minute, they're going after the crypt. And you could just tell, because we talked about earlier when we were talking about with Arthur's Aquaman's grave, how it's that sacredness. Well, this is the memorial. This is the tomb of dead police officers. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are, these are the people who gave their lives fighting for the innocent, to protect and serve, and they're now desecrating their graves. That is just this
But they've also all had to overcome great fear, which means they've had something in their lives, or lots of something in their lives, that have put that we've seen in the stories of these lanterns. They've all had to overcome things in their life, the traumas and torments that would make them prime candidates to be Black Lanterns. Yeah. The one that would Jade.
Yeah, that is just going to be the emotional that, oh my God, what's going to happen there? It's like when Tara, and Beast Boy have their face-to-face, because that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Clark and Jonathan Kent. There are these emotional events that are going to happen. Now, one of the things that they kind of started teasing is the Mogul Corps versus the Sinestro Corps, and they're on Sinestro's home world.
It's funny. I keep forgetting about all that stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm really liking that a lot. So you're right. There is this war of the light that's going on, even within Corps.
Yeah, there's a war within the Yellow Lanterns.
That's still going on during all this. But not even just a war within the Yellow Lanterns. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take it off the topic of all that. But we're forgetting about the other layer, the war of the light.
Yeah, well, there's the orange and the blue going on.
Right.
There's the yellow and the star sapphires going on. There's these wars within these different factions and this invasion of the Black Lanterns. So we're talking 3-4 fronts in battle. That's going to be huge.
We haven't even seen brought into this yet, and when is that going to happen?
Right.
You know, it's really unique.
The Indigo Tribe has barely, been a blip on the radar. What are they going to be like? So there's just I don't know, man, dude. I'm so jazzed about the not just Blackest Night, but the color war going on.
Right.
This is just a huge epic event of multiple proportions and whatnot that just got me. Whew.
I was glad we got verification that Johns and Tomasi, beyond this, have got long-term plans for Green Lantern, and they're going to be on these books for a long, long time. Because I think the two of them together are just writing two very unique explorations of this amazing, amazing world of Green Lantern. And it's funny. I think we all get very focused on, should it be a Trinity anymore? Should these guys be all up there? I personally think one of the strengths of what's going on in comics right now is there's more of a press to make all of the books like this.
Yeah.
Every book should be an event. It's one of the things Dan DiDio said it at one of the Sunday, I think it was at Sunday Comics or one of the panels we were at. He said that our goal is to have every comic series feeling like it's an event all the time.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's a big event going on outside it. And there's a lot of that going on right now.
Yeah, because I remember he said that at the Sunday. That Sunday press, because someone asked,
where it was?
Yeah, someone asked him a question about with the
events,
the events and the countdown to greed and that type of stuff, and he's like, "Hey, hold on, Sinestro Corps War, that was inside the books. We're trying to do something with these titles that they're not just fill-ins until the big events. That these are the events.
Wonder Woman, Batman, Secret Six, all these books are Booster Gold's got a huge storyline going on right now, which I'm really enjoying. That one. You know what? I'm here. I'm here. Let's go ahead and talk about it. I love right now. Dick Grayson's dead.
Yeah.
Huge problem historically. He died because they changed the events that happened in the initial Teen Titans arc, even before Judas Contract. Contract hasn't even happened. This was the initial Teen Titans arc. He Deathstroke teamed up with his son, and because of the Black Beetle, the Titans lost, and they all died except for Raven. So that has changed history, and Booster's had to go into the future, and he's trying to correct all of this, basically by trying to track down the Black Beetle and whoever this mysterious person is.
Dang it, Norge, I know it's you.
Yeah, it is me, yeah. No. But, that book is one that, a great book where it's not tying into anything other than the sense if it in its own decides to go
its own universe, yeah.
But that book, every arc feels like an event because they can kind of attack and attach onto everything, and it's just a great series because of that. So and the backups of Blue Beetle with that I think have been.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying that. That is the Blue Beetle backup is something that I was liking Booster before, and I was in on Booster, and I was enjoying just the whole aspect of him. We've said that multiple times on this show, but there is something about that Blue Beetle backup that's added for me for the enjoyment, because I missed, the Blue Beetle solo story. I missed seeing it. Now I'm getting what I want.
I think they're complementary stories, too. I think it's with these second features, they're doing a real good job of pairing them up in ways that make sense. Doom Patrol and Metal Men.
Yeah.
The first issue out of the starting gate of that one, they're two stories, obviously because of creative teams, it makes sense to have them together. But they're also, they fit in a way that just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, in a weird way they do fit together, and it's a good jive.
Yeah, because they're odd teams.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see where those are books that I'm enjoying right now as well. It is funny. I keep hoping that when these new series come out, that I'm going to hit one where I'm like, boy, I'm just not into this one.
Yeah, I'm just not going. Yeah.
And there's a different. I'm not saying everything is the same level as Batman, because Batman right now is woof. When the new Batman stuff comes out, or Secret Six, just not everything's on that level. There's a lot of enjoyable books coming out right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely having fun reading it, and
Yeah.
there's some stuff that I honestly would like to drop, and I keep telling myself when I do the DCBS order, well, maybe can I drop this? But then I sit back and I think about the book, and I'm like, I remember this when this happened or when this happened. I'm like, I'm liking this, and then
Well, that's stuff that winds up like in your middle of the stack, bottom of the stack. Because I have books like that too, and I'm like, they're in the stack for a reason.
good example is right now actually sitting on the floor of
Titans.
Sean's room. This is a title I actually wanted to drop, but it wasn't. I wasn't sitting there reading going, "Oh, it's no longer good. I don't like it." I was trying to limit my budget. I'm like, you know what? Could I drop this? This is a title I could drop. I don't know, and I wanted to find a reason to drop this title. And I kept reading it to try to find it. And then this issue came out, and
Issue 16 is the best issue yet.
I know. This
16 issues in, this was a home run.
Oh my God, I absolutely love this issue. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can't drop this. There's no way. If I'm going to cut a title, I'll have to find something other than this one to drop because, it's had highs and lows for me, as I was reading it.
This has been for me mainly.
This has now
this
gone,
has been
oh my
mainly
God.
been an enjoyable book.
Yeah.
And when I say enjoyable, I mean it's kind of a book where like, okay, I'm glad I read the issue. It's not one that I feel the need to read 2 or 3 times. Like
Yeah.
I'm glad because I'm up on what's going on with the Titans right now. But I don't feel the need to. Oh my God, I got to read this. Issue 16, I read it and reread it again immediately.
Yes. Oh my. Yeah.
And it's the first. I got to be honest with you. Aside from Death Trap, the Death Trap crossover, this is the first issue that I've done that with.
Yeah. Yeah. This
But
is
the Death Trap crossover, I kind of take out of all that because of that was
part of the whole excitement of the event.
yeah.
But yeah, when we talked a year or so ago, when we talked about that Supergirl issue where she was helping, she promised that one kid she was going to save him.
Right.
And she was going through that whole struggle. And for me, that was my moment in Supergirl where I said, I must read this title from now on. And that was the really birth of my love of that character. Boom, this is that same issue.
Yeah.
This has that same pull that makes me go, oh my God, this is an absolutely wonderful issue. It's the story arc is, Corey is going, Starfire is going to a shrink basically. And she's kind of like just talking to the shrink and, why are you here? Well, my friends told me to come. Well, and she's hemming and hawing around it. And as the story's playing out, and I loved how the shrink was written, because the shrink is just going, or psychiatrist, I don't want to insult any medical professionals out there, because I think shrink is kind of insulting to them, I'm not sure. But, as she's going on, she's, just asking the probing questions, just continuing pushing, and she's starting to see the pattern that she's laying out, the pattern of loss of control. She has issues with that. She starts just opening up to severe issues. And
especially because of, this is right. I like this because it takes things that I wanted to see explored more post Final Crisis, and I'm so glad to see it playing out. She had a Justifier helmet on.
Yeah.
And we get to see her. Wait, we actually just talked about this.
Yeah.
What if you know?
Yeah.
What if you can remember being out of control? I would be in this place.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle this, what she went through. I agree with her. So I so connected with her on this level. The loss of a love. She went point blank and put her heart out with Dick Grayson.
And he said no. And once again, another time when they were out of control, when they were under the influence of a demon, and they had a knockdown time.
I so wanted this to be her and Dick Grayson getting together.
Yeah.
When I saw that.
You see the opening panel of them
It's
kissing.
the one that was on
DCU's
DCU's The Source.
Yeah.
And it's the artwork is tremendous on this one. It is funny how she's one of those loves. I do think Dick has feelings for her still.
Yeah, but it's not, you know, it's not that love of all time. She has those feelings towards him. He
used to be that love of all time.
Yeah, well,
see, that's interesting. That's where our different reading experiences come in. You never read any of that.
No, I never really read that. Mm-hmm. I just seen, back issues and, discussions, and I knew it had happened, but it wasn't anything that I actually read and, was like, oh, wow, this is cool. So, but, yeah, I I just like how the doctor slowly got it out of her, and we slowly see this story being portrayed. This is a classic kind of like, visit. This is what the doctors do. This is where they have their training, and they're professional listeners. They know how to think, and she just slowly worked it, and you get the whole story that, from when her sister had her in captivity when she was a little kid to the present with Dick Grayson, and then the Justifier helmets, all these stuff. She's got these issues about being free, about the control, and not being able to command her own destiny. It's I really ate that up, and I was like, oh my god, I want to see what she does, because what is going to happen to the Titans? Will she still be around? I hope that God she is, because she's a great character. And all my appreciations of her,
invited to be a part of
the JLA, and she turned it down.
Right, because she's not ready to be a part of a team right now. But what will it take to bring her back? What's interesting, though, is, see, this team, it does show kind of a reality as well. Friendships change over time. I think you can still be friends, you still care about each other and all that stuff, but sometimes trying to put the band back together the way it was, some of the friends still fit in the band. Other friends, they've moved on. And that doesn't mean that you're not still friends or you don't still care about each other, things like that. You do, but it's kind of hard to put, you'll get together with the band in certain groups and not hang out the way that you always do. We have friendship situations like that, where we all still like all those people, but for whatever reason, because of life, we just don't get together as much as we used to. Not always by desire. That plays out here.
Yeah.
It felt very real in that sense, because Donna's not hanging out with the team anymore. She's doing her own thing. And that's something where she's not staying there like she used to and all that. So, what is that going to mean? We see her come in with Mon-El.
Yeah.
And, what we know is that it looks like they're going to be on the Justice League together. So there's already some glimpses of that relationship. I got to be honest with you. I'd love to see Corey on the Justice League.
Yeah.
I would love to see her mind change on that, because it would be interesting to see her with Dick Grayson, Batman on that team.
Yeah, I know. It'd be interesting.
I like that relationship. I got to be honest with you. I like that relationship as much as I like Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. So I would like to see. It would be interesting to see either of those play out. But she's got this history, and it goes back to her sister.
Yeah.
Imprisoning her, and just how much that affects her, and to the point where she's ready to run out on the doctor.
Yeah, she's ready, and I don't know, even run out. That doctor could have.
Well, she did actually
been hurt. She fried her. She had one of those little Zen gardens that have the little rake, and you rake them, and you make the little patterns in the sand, and it's a Zen relaxing type thing. She fried it. I was like, okay, she's a little miffed right now.
But the ultimate question is, why are you here, Starfire? It isn't a complicated question. Why are you here? I did think it was interesting that she sees the JLA satellite when she's doing that. I wonder if that was maybe some foreshadowing that maybe she will
be on the team. I don't know.
She'd be a great character to jump to that.
Yeah.
I am ready. It's funny, we talked when Ian was on about Titans and Teen Titans and how we want to see them move forward and stabilize and all that. Issues like this, though, are the way I like to see that happen. This is an organic move. This showed me, wow, we're heading in this direction. We've got a plan for this team. We're just doing some shuffling because these guys are organically going over to this team. Corey's a question mark at the moment. So are some of the other members of the team. I got a funny feeling we're going to see some people from this team maybe being mentors to Teen Titans. I don't know. Or are we going to see the old band put back together with Teen? Because it looks like Superboy wants back on the
team.
Oh, we got. You know what? Screw it. Let's talk Adventure Comics.
Okay.
How can we not talk about how cool Adventure Comics was? But he right away is talking in that issue. I want back on the Titans.
Yeah.
We see him with Bart.
Bring
they
the
want back on
yeah.
the Titans.
Both of them. And I was just like, I love the fact that he destroyed the statue. And Bart's like, hey, destroy mine too. Come on. Oh, can you do
but
cool?
But the reasoning, they want to show villains that the Titans have gotten stronger again. We are back in business.
Yeah.
Wow, what is that going to look like?
And what's going to happen with Cassie? She's the leader of the Titans. Will she still be?
His checklist, I thought, was really cool.
Yes. That, and I especially like as he's going through, what did Superman do? Went to Smallville. Okay. Went to Smallville High. Okay. Joined a super team. Yeah. And I'll help the innocent, yeah. But then on the other side, what did Lex Luthor do?
Yeah.
Lie to Superman. Check.
Right.
I was like, oh,
And it was
that
all about, do you want to see
Lex Luthor
again?
Yeah.
And he lied to Superman, saying that he doesn't want anything to ever do with him ever. Or if he didn't see him again, it would be too soon.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
He's got to confront Lex Luthor. We're going to see that.
And
he's got
natural issues that, he's a clone of both of them. So there's parent issues there.
Yeah.
He feels like, Clark's like, I get the big brother to him. But there is that other side of the family and most people in that situation would want to confront that, would want to deal with that. He's been through so much with Luthor controlling him and what that put him through. I love that trauma's still there, and we're back with him again dealing with that.
Nature versus nurture. Mm-hmm. What is the driving factor that makes him Superboy? Is it his genetics? Is it how he was raised? Is it who he is? Mm-hmm. I loved seeing him with Ma Kent, and she's like,
when you're on the farm, remember I am Ma.
Yeah, that was a great thing. Yes. And seeing him with Crypto playing ball with Crypto, it was just like, yes, this is a cool
Tell me that didn't make you miss Jonathan all the more, though.
Oh yeah.
I so wanted to see him walk in on that scene.
Yes. Yeah,
I love the both of them.
Yeah, I really
I want to find his heart and draw it in an issue of Blackest Night so they could bring him back.
Bring
and I
back
can't draw.
Kent.
I can't draw a decent stick figure, but I'll find a way.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Kent, it's funny how well written he's been and how much I want to see him back because of this series. Legion of Superheroes. I like that spread.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see that spread and to see all the Legionnaires laid out, but Starman, that brief time in the present day being given kind of a but it's given that alertness again, but it's a tragic story because it doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to do anything for him because his condition has accelerated so much. Yeah. So can even Brainiac at this stage help him? No, I don't know.
Unfortunately, I think the damage is too far gone, and he's going to be him. It's the schizophrenia, the degradation of the mind. He's gone, and he gets those glimpses and the pieces where he's kind of bringing everything together, but it's not. And
you also know what happened with the Black. He knows everything that happened.
Yeah.
In Legion of Three Worlds. So, which was interesting that he knows about the Black Witch and that there's more for him to do.
Yeah, and he's got this. There's other Legionnaires trapped in time.
Right.
And I want to see who that is and how that's playing out.
Right. So that's going to be an interesting second story to follow as well. I like he was one of the strong characters from Jeff Johns' Justice Society of America run. So I'm glad that he's got him and that character is going to continue on.
He cleared me of my my hatred of the beard.
Yeah.
I had issues with him having the beard, and then I'm like, it kind of fits him. I like it. And it's now even this issue where he kind of trashes the building, and he's like, well, I'll leave your police because I don't feel like dealing with him. Bye. And he takes off, and it's, I don't know. I was cracking up there.
JSA and Justice Society of America, we got the first issue with the new team.
Yeah.
Which we got to see. Obviously not going to be able to talk heavily into this at the moment, but it was great as we got a new team member introduced, which is an interesting dynamic because they're not happy about being left alone. But we're starting to see that this team, because of its size and the varied personalities in it, this team has some divisions that are kind of naturally forming right now, right out of the starting gate, which leads naturally to two series.
Right.
Out of this whole, and I'm glad that they're going to be doing that. But what's nice? What's going on in the main Justice Society of America title right now with Willingham and Sturgis is complementing so much what's going on in JSA versus Kobra, or vice versa, however you want to look at it, with Power Girl and Mr. Terrific butting heads in that great series for reasons that fit naturally. I am so Justice Society happy right now. I was so thrilled that the first issue with the new team played out so well.
Yeah, there was not a misstep. There wasn't a kind of like
it felt very much like the same
it was
series.
It was a nice fluid flow through, which is something we always want to see. The look, feel, just everything. This was my Justice Society that I was reading before. This is not a new people. This is not something different. And
I want an obsidian egg. I do. I want one for my mail or something like that. Yeah. That was fun, though. I want to see what's going on with all this. It's funny how their world...
everything's getting shaked up there.
Yeah.
And
that's a book, though, that with the sheer amount of people, they're ready for a new second series. With the younger team.
Yeah, they got enough team. They got enough members on that team, and they don't really even... I don't think they're going to do a old and young team. It's going to be a mixture of them.
No, that's an old and young team.
It is an old and young team?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not to say that everybody on the young team, there's going to be mentors on the young team.
Okay.
In there. One girl, Power Girl's going to be, and Magog are the team leaders of one team, which I believe that's the All-Stars team.
Okay.
Which is going to be a majority of the younger characters. Okay. And then there's going to be the, which I maybe Mr. Terrific's leader, I'm not sure. So don't quote me on that. Okay. I'm not 100% sure.
I would assume Terrific is the leader of the other team.
Yeah. But there's going to be a very set division on the two teams, and I think we've already seen glimpses as to why. I mean, they've been hinting at this for a while.
I thought they said they were going to split up Our Man and Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't going to be a split up. But they said it would make sense why one's on one team, one's on the other team.
Yeah. Which is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
But the first issue out of the starting gate, I know we're just doing this real quickly because I want to get to some listener voicemails, but I wanted to talk about that. I thought we'd be remiss to it. That was one, I've got to be honest with you, with the names Willingham and Sturgis, I felt a lot safer than I was going to.
Yeah.
But to follow the Jeff Johns run with how long he was at the reins of not just this series, but the previous series as well, and how good it was, I would not want to follow that in a million years.
That's a tough act to follow,
and
man.
I got to say, the first issue out of the starting gate, I was pleasantly surprised. Because a lot of times when we've seen a new creative team take over, it's felt like a little like they're feeling, it's a little awkward out of the starting gate. Just kind of they're getting used to what their book's going to be like. This felt really good. It felt very much like what I was enjoying before, which I didn't expect. I was pleasantly surprised.
I got a goofy visual going on in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Lee Lewis, famous musician, one time was put on a bill, and he was the opening act. Right. And he's like, I'm not an opening act, I'm the star. And like, no, you're the opening act. And he goes, fine, I'll play. And he's playing, and he's going, and he's rocking the house, and he takes, some booze, throws it inside the fire, inside his piano, lights it on fire. So while the piano is burning, he's still jamming on the keyboard. Place is going absolutely insane, and he ends his set with the piano crashing because it finally burned through, and people come out and they're hosing off. And as he walks off stage, he goes to the next guy, and goes, follow that. That's kind of what Jeff Johns did, not intentionally, and Sturgis is doing it. They're coming out with
Willingham and Sturgis.
Willingham and Sturgis, yes.
But the books are going to be divided. One of them's taking one. Willingham's taking the older team, or the veteran team, and then Sturgis is taking the young guns.
Yeah,
which isn't going to be all the young guns, but with mentors, kind of like what Teen Titans. I hesitate to say that, just because I don't want to make it seem like it's a clone, because it's not. But remember how our Titans team, the one that you really liked so much, it had Cyborg and Starfire and Raven on initially, and Beast Boy, and then it had 4 new guys.
Yeah,
or newer guys, I should say. So I think that is going to be interesting to see, because it goes back to John's original concept that they were building better heroes.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be an interesting piece there. This is really funny. We'll end on this for this segment real quick. Before, Jim called me on the phone, I was almost going to delay this recording a day, because I told Jim on the phone, I said, dude, I'm not completely done with my Blackest Night #2 notes. I don't think we have enough content for the show.
And I just started laughing.
And I've got to sit there and say, as we're talking about JSA, we got to wrap this up so we can get to voicemails. So that tells you what it was. I wanted to get to emails this episode. We're not going to have a chance to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to do some of that next week. I got some cool emails I want to discuss, so I'm hoping to get that content on next week. So those of you that have been sending some emails, I sent a couple of you replies back saying, I'd really like to talk about this in the show. I'm not ignoring that. We are going to get to that, but in this episode I'd like to get to some of the voicemails first, and then we'll jump to that.
Holy caffeine!
Hey, Sean and Jim, Donnie Salvo here. How you doing? I just wanted to talk about real quick the latest issue of Justice League of America. Len Wein writing. Hello, That thing brought me straight back to the satellite era when I was a kid. You would buy a Justice League comic. You didn't know there was a main roster, but you didn't know which one of the characters that was going to be featured in it. This thing was fantastic. When Vixen and Firestorm released the signal calling for backup, if you will, who shows up? Dr. Light, Plastic Man, Red Tornado. What? Awesome. That's what that is. And I'm going to tell you, the Royal Flush Gang. You cannot go wrong with a JLA story with the Royal Flush Gang. Never. Never. They're the most corniest supervillains out there. Well, there's some that are a little cornier, but wow. I mean, everybody's excited James Robinson's taking over this title. I'm just saying, this is my personal preference. Let's let Mr. Wein go. See what he could do. I love it. All right. I'm actually in a movie theater parking lot. I'm on my way to see G.I. Joe. And since I haven't talked to you guys for a while, I'm gonna call you back after the movie's over, and I'm gonna let you know what I thought of it. Alrighty. You know what? Take it easy. Oh, and I want to know if you're going to the Pittsburgh Comic-Con, because I'll be there with Sean Pryor from PKD Media, pkdmedia.com. That's right. I'll be at Sean's booth helping him out, and I hope to see you guys there. And if you guys are coming, first round's on me. What do you say? All right, man. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.
Hey, guys. Donnie Salo here. I just got out of G.I. Joe, the movie. This was ridiculous in an awesome kind of way. It has very little ties to the old Larry Hama Marvel Comics or anything that's going on at IDW or what Devils Do did, or even I think it was Image that had it for a little while too. Yeah, nothing really to do with any of that. They basically took the characters, kind of made their own little story. It worked. I mean, it's not going to win an Academy Award, but if you're looking for a mindless action flick with some characters that you recognize, then just the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow fights alone are worth the price of admission. I mean, dude, they even do a fight with Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes when they were children. Children. How could a movie with 8-year-old ninjas beating the crap out of each other be bad? No way. All right. Well, that's a little G.I. Joe movie report. And, all right, you take care. And like I said, either one of you guys are going to Pittsburgh. Shoot me an email on the Facebook or something and let me know. Okay? Like I said, first round's on me, guys. All right, bye-bye.
We're going to Pittsburgh, right?
I'm planning on it. I
Yeah,
thought
okay.
so.
Yeah. I thought it was for sure.
I got to make sure I'm not doing anything else, but I don't think I am. I thought I was good to go for Pittsburgh.
I'm definitely going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I'll say it right now. So,
Okay.
Donnie, I'll see you.
Okay. And
More than likely with the sensei.
yeah, more than likely with me, unless there's something weird
I think
going
my wife might go, too.
on. Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think she wants to head out and hit Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But that
And we can hit
love
the
Pittsburgh.
Gypsy Cafe, too.
We could hit the Gypsy
yeah.
Cafe, too. Oh, we should. I think
Good
we'll do all
chow
those
at the
things.
Gypsy Cafe.
Oh, I like this. This is
Yeah.
we got a plan.
We got a definite plan. And it's a city I don't mind, even though all the bridges. I'm starting to like Pittsburgh more, even though it's the home of the Steelers, which angers me. Just because they destroy us every year. But it's just they destroy the Browns every year. Plus, it's a city of bridges. So it should be the reason I just despise the city, but I'm enjoying the city more and more every time I visit it.
It was funny when Donnie was. I haven't seen G.I. Joe. I've been wanting to, but it's one of those. My wife basically said, "That's a guy movie." So and she usually goes to me with with a lot of those movies. To me, she usually goes. I've always been a fan of G.I. Joe, though. I've read the Devils Do stuff, the IDW stuff. I loved the Larry Hama series from Marvel. That stuff was all outstanding. I love the cartoon. Did you watch the cartoon? Were you a cartoon?
Dude, come on,
Yeah,
big
okay.
time.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that. I mean, I was very interested in seeing this just because of that. Donnie, a lot of times when people say, "Well, how come you you seem to like everything?" It's not that. Donnie just hit the nail on the head of some of my philosophy about comics. There's some comics that are just mindless, enjoyable entertainment, and you can fit them in that category. They aren't your top of the stack. They just kind of like, they fit like, some comics are B-movie schlock. Some comics are just enjoyable action entertainment. Some comics will blow your mind. You know, they fit into different categories. Just what Donnie said about this one, 8-year-old ninjas doing all that.
Yeah.
It fits. It's not going to win any Academy Awards. So is that a top of the stack comic? No, but it was a good time and enjoyable time. Do you necessarily buy that on DVD? Maybe, maybe not. If it's in the bargain bin, that type of thing. But did you have a good time when you went out and saw it? Yeah. You know, and it kind of fits into that category of interesting schlock. He's got me kind of interested in seeing it now.
Yeah, I know.
Because a lot of the reviews I've been reading have been, like, the more positive ones have been saying what he's saying.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be your favorite action movie of all time, but as far as for when you're there, it's got the kind of entertaining...
And I say line of the show has to go to Donnie, you know, with the 8-year-old ninjas beating the crap out of each other. You gotta love that one.
To add to his comments about the JLA issue,
yes,
with Plastic Man, one of the things I really liked was when he swooped in as Batman. It wasn't just left there. His commentary about missing the guy.
Yeah.
For any fans of the Morrison JLA run, their relationship in that book, he had one of those relationships like Guy Gardner has with Batman, and it's one of those things where you get to see all these people that Batman kept at an arm's length, who actually do have fond memories of him, but aren't quite sure how to label that relationship. He's a tough guy to label a relationship with. Like, your feelings about him and how you speak about Batman, if you're on a team with him, are going to change from day to day based on what particular memory you're having with him at the moment. Is it the memory where he punched you out or the one where he saved your butt? Which one is it? And he's one of those kind of guys. Len Wein was great on that. I'm excited. I'm liking Cry for Justice. What are your feelings on that?
Oh, dude, I'm excited, loving it, reading it, going, oh my God.
Yeah.
This definitely looking forward to, the JLA outside of it.
Yeah. I'd love to see a second series penned by Len Wein, though.
Yeah, he's got, you know what? Yeah, I gotta agree with him. This was a good read. This was a kind of a, throw together. It was a throw out there, hey, we need help, kind of.
But it played off of where the team was at.
Right.
I love that Vixen wasn't sure who was going to show because of the turmoil the current team was in. But it shows what kind of heroes there are on the Justice League, that they show up when it's necessary. Even if the big three aren't around, they're the ones that are there when they need to be.
Yeah.
Dr. Light showing up with Red Tornado, who Red Tornado's busy with other things right now, but because in that particular moment he happened to be free, he's like, hey, JLA call, I got to be there.
Yeah,
I'm able to be there. I'm going to be there. And I like what he said about reservists. That was something I always liked in the Satellite era as well, where you had your core group, but
you never knew who was going to show up.
And that added to a different dynamic, and that's where Plastic Man and Red Tornado so totally came in this particular... And he's right. Royal Flush Gang. But what I loved about this is it built on the concept of the Royal Flush Gang, that there's someone pulling the strings. There is a big man over there. I loved how they were playing with Roulette, and Roulette's like, wait a minute. I picked the Justice League, and I've got this team without the big three? What are you talking about? Yeah. Which was great. And it's, the luck of the draw and all that. But he's right. It's a fun series. The cliffhanger at the end with Roulette and with him, I thought was great. It's great fun reading. I'd love to see a monthly with him, doing the writing. Not in place. I'm greedy. I want both.
Yeah, 2 JLA teams.
Yeah. I think there's enough heroes in the DC universe that deserve to be on the Justice League that they can warrant having a second. So I hope there is a second one. But that was great. So pkdmedia.com too. So definitely check that out, and I'll have that in the show notes as well. Pittsburgh Comic-Con. We'll be stopping by and seeing you. And Donnie Salvo's on the Reality Wasted podcast, so we'll have that in the show notes as well. Thank you, Donnie, always for your participation in the show. But, we'll be finally hanging out and tipping some glasses with Donnie.
Hey, Sean and Jim, what's up? It's Chris again. I wanted to talk Batman a little bit. Batman Blackest Night or Blackest Night Batman, whichever one comes first. I don't know. Anyway, Blackest Night Batman #1. Oh, my God. So freaking good. I love, everything about this comic. It completely blew me away. I didn't have very high expectations of it, even though I love Pete Tomasi. I love what he's doing with Outsiders, love what he's doing in Green Lantern Corp, but because Johns wrote such a great first issue of the main book, I just figured that it would dwarf all these other little side projects that they're doing, but oh my God, it was so good. I'm not going to give anything away because I know when you guys finally get around to talking about it, you're probably going to tear it apart. So I won't give anything else away with that. And the other thing I wanted to ask you guys about was the upcoming Batman video game, Batman Arkham Asylum. I just played the demo on my 360, and it's really, really good. Jim, Sean, I know that you have not a 360, a PlayStation 3. Just wondering if you did it. If you haven't downloaded the demo, I suggest you do. It's free. You should be able to get it on PlayStation Network. Really good. I don't buy video games new that much just because they're so expensive, but this is one that I'm definitely going to have to get the day it comes out. If you played it, just let me know what you think. Love the show, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Oh my God, dude, that Batman game, the demo for that it is one of the best superhero games I've ever played.
Yeah,
the storyline, the graphics, the gameplay, you could be Batman.
Yeah. And I liked how he was doing the swooping and the creeping, and it wasn't just about go in this room, punch, beat these people, go in this room, punch, beat. No, you've got to be Batman. You got to be the detective.
My schedule's been insanely busy. Yeah. I've played that demo 15 times. You know what I love about it? The demo isn't super long. But it gives you a really good grasp of the game. There's this one segment, you remember the one where you're in the big room where you're kind of swooping around? Yeah. You can take out those guys a different way every time. Yeah. It's great. Whether from the ground or from the heights or whatever, there's cool different ways you can handle them every time. There's a stealth aspect to Batman, but there's also a full action, full-on combat segment to Batman as well. I love his communications with Oracle. Where she's kind of like in many ways, his conversations with Oracle help tell you what to do, and what you're capable of doing as well. But the grappling hook is very fluid. The Batarang mechanics is really good as well. It's easily, I've played all of the Batman games that have come out, and I'm going all the way back to the 8-bit Nintendo. And there was some great stuff on there by Sunsoft, a company named Sunsoft that made some great Batman games. This is the best Batman game I've ever played. The Batman games a lot of times get a lot of scuff as far as being junky, and there's been ones that have been very mediocre. I agree with people on that. And some that were just like the camera controls you were playing with were downright awful. But those old 8-bit games from Sunsoft were really good. For anybody that remembers the ones that I'm talking about. And they actually converted one of them over to the Genesis at the time and reworked that, which was outstanding. Sunsoft was a great company for making great Batman games. Also, Batman Returns on the Super Nintendo was brilliant. That was another really good Batman game. So there's been more good Batman games than people tend to remember. But in recent years, the Caped Crusader hasn't been treated as nicely as it could be. And this is a game that takes everything and blows it completely out of the water. Having Kevin Conroy doing the voice of Batman, having Mark Hamill as the Joker, having Jim Gordon's fantastic in it. The cast is just amazing. Harley Quinn was great. The visual segments were great and fun to watch. It's just a great, cool game. Can you tell I like it?
No, you're kind of. I'm kind of getting a mixed feeling here. It's don't hold back.
It was great. Chris saying when I get the buzz about a game, superhero games. It's funny. He's right with the cost of games. Video games are so expensive right now. I sold some of the games that I used to have on eBay because of the show. I don't have the time to play through as many of the games as I want. And I'm like, for $60, not only am I going to play through it, I want to try to get a platinum trophy. I want to try to get everything because it's so expensive now. I'm paring down what I purchase in video games. This one, I bought the Mega Collector's Edition where you get the Batarang because this was so on my radar. I mean, it's Batman. I was so hoping this would be good. And I was figuring this was going to be another one where I'd have to be an apologist for and go, people are saying it's not so great, but it's, with Batman with me, I'll probably enjoy it. Yeah. But not to be gush-worthy. It's been a while since I've had a gush-worthy video game. This is a gush-worthy video game. I'm hoping... It's funny, I played the demo. If the rest of the game is as good as the demo, it's a winner. I'm hoping the rest of the game plays as good as this did. That cliffhanger, though, it was funny. I'm like, wait, no, you're not leaving us off there. This big beast comes out of this tank that the Joker's got. It was this some kind of experiment that was being worked on, and this thing's being released from this vat, and Joker's like, I know you want to get to me. We'll get to that later, something like that. And he sends this thing out to you, and you can't fight it because that's where it gives you, you got to get the game. And it's a great marketing but I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already buying your game. Let me fight him. I'm one of your purchasers. You don't need to sell me on it. But it's a great game. It's really a great game, and it was cool. You know what you and I got to play that was a lot of fun, too, speaking of video games, as long as we're there? Watchmen.
Yes. That was neat.
Yeah, it was the downloadable Watchmen game. Now, I'm going to say one of the criticisms that I would have for the game, and you might agree with this too, it's a beat-em-up.
Yeah. With
beat-em-ups like that, typically it's a repetitious game. That's the nature of them. Final Fight is a great example of this. I love Capcom's Final Fight game, but it's a beat-em-up side-scroller. This is a 3D version of the old classic beat-em-up side-scrollers. If you liked those games, the Watchmen games are fun.
Yeah. We had fun doing that.
Well, you know what? You were the first time I played with somebody else. And I got to say, the game, for anybody, if you own it and you haven't played it with a friend, do yourself a favor, because I've always found it to be an enjoyable game. It went up in value playing it with a friend, because you and I were having a lot of fun beating up on things and chatting along the way playing it. Added up, a lot of value.
Yeah, I got to play Rorschach. That was fun.
The split screen, how did you like that? Did that work?
You know what? It was okay for me because you have such a large enough screen.
Okay.
I usually do have issues with
I do
split
too
screen.
Usually, and that didn't bother me.
This was above top and bottom kind of laid out. I was doing pretty good. There was a couple of times I had problems with the camera control, and where I was looking, and it wasn't where I was going to.
Well, you're not used to using a video game controller for that. You're used to the mouse and keyboard for camera control. So that was an adjustment for me when I switched to shooters with using controllers, because I was used to the mouse and keyboard as well. So that is an issue if you're not used to that. But I had fun playing with it.
Yeah, I had the groove going. We were having
not
fun.
as gush-worthy as Batman. Yeah. It's not on that level, but
it was kind of neat. Game. It was neat.
It's an enjoyable game.
Yeah, I got the Rorschach rage going. Sometimes I started figuring out, okay, this is how I do that. All right, Yeah.
So that one for a downloadable game was pretty good. It's on for PlayStation 3 users. I know they have the Watchmen Complete experience. So if you haven't bought the Watchmen movie yet, it's kind of cool because you can get the movie and the two games, I think, on one Blu-ray disc is how it works. So, and it's kind of worth it to do it that way if you haven't bought the game yet, to get them as a download. But I downloaded them, and for a downloadable game, it's pretty cool. They have demos too, and I would encourage anybody, like if you're not sure if it's for you, just like he mentioned, do the demo. Demos are great with the price of video games nowadays. Because if it's not for you, then at least you're not out any money, and you get to demo it and play it. And Watchmen's a good game to download and play the demo first to see if it's your cup of tea. I did like the story, though. The story is fun. I want to finish. I've saved our game where it's at, so we can finish and keep playing.
Cool.
Next time we play, because that was pretty cool. Batman Blackest Night. Yeah, we talked about it heavily on here. It was interesting. I guess because of Peter Tomasi, I had a lot of confidence in it. It was better than I thought. I had no doubt it was going to be worth purchasing, but he is right in the sense that it was what I thought was going to be a good read wound up being a great read.
Right.
So I thought I was going to be wow, it's worth buying. Peter Tomasi's going to be a good read. We're going to always get something solid from him. He hit a home run. He's right. It was interesting, the distinction. I just thought that was cool that he made that distinction.
Hey, this is Daryl. Just calling in. I enjoyed the last episode. You're for Tomorrow Talk. I'm Daryl on the forums. I do the Fixers Hideout and Comic Book Roadshow podcast. And I remember I read on the third or fourth reading of For Tomorrow. I still just thought that it was just a waste of Jim Lee's talent. I mean, I just really figured Azzarello's writing was just totally wrong to use with Jim Lee, because when Jim Lee did The Hush and then he moved to, we heard he was doing Superman, it was okay, Jeff Lowe wrote to Jim Lee's strengths, and you got to see Batman fight all of his, villains, Penguin, Joker, Riddler. He was in total action. He was, with fighting his rogues gallery. And when you get to Superman, it's like that story was more of an introspective story. And when you have Jim Lee, he can only do with so many books a year. And when you have the talent like Jim Lee, because that's the only thing that kept me buying that book, to have that talent and to kind of waste it to me by having him have all these long conversations with the priest and Lupe, and I mean it was lackluster to me. It just felt like they wasted a perfect opportunity to really have Jim Lee show off, his style on a Superman book. Have him go against all his old rogues like Brainiac and Bizarro and I would love to have seen those type of battles in Metropolis with Jim Lee drawing it. I mean, it would have been great. But you like it, you don't. To each his own. But I enjoyed the talk of it anyway. I enjoyed y'all talking about it anyway, and it's cool. Y'all do a great show. I enjoy it, and I'll keep listening later.
Don't ever worry about having a different opinion about us than a book. It's actually, I was hoping on the episode that if people did have different opinions, they would call in. So I appreciate you doing, because I asked for that. That's really cool. It is because remember my own experience, and I mentioned it on the episode. My own experience with the book has been very strange. I expected our episode, we recorded it, for me to be kind of in the position where you're in, Daryl. It just clicked for me, which was an interesting little switch. I didn't expect that. And that's not to say that everyone has to have the same experience that I did. I just found a personal connection with the story in my later read-throughs than I expected. I understand what he's saying, though, because if you compare it to Hush, Hush was a showcase of Jim Lee kind of working on every Batman villain, giving him a chance to kind of do his take on everybody. And I think if you were expecting that from... Because I do think a lot of what I was expecting when I went through For Tomorrow was Superman's version of Hush. I think reading it through my last time, I already knew it wasn't that. So I was looking at it, and I really was taking a study of the writing. And I do think it's a great story as far as looking at this character. A lot of what we discussed, I really don't want to rehash our For Tomorrow episode, because I've kind of said my piece. But I'm glad Daryl made an interesting point.
It's the dun da da type thing, and that's
that is not there.
No, and it's not. But I kind of it was weird, because for me, I kind of liked that we didn't have that.
Because it was a different kind of Superman.
It was a different Superman. It was a little bit darker. It was a little bit grittier. There was a little bit of questioning what's going on with the Big Blue Boy Scout. He's not his same old self. He's still the hero. He's still the good guy. Or is he? What's going on here? And I like that. And I like with the usage of the Jim Lee art to show those beautiful facial, show those great usage of the coloring team, with the usage of the lighting and all that, and just this bam popping of the artwork. It didn't have the physical flash, but it did have that great just human flash to it.
And I totally agree with you, because we were talking about that. I'm totally in sync with you. It was funny that when Daryl was talking, I'm like, no, I would have liked to have seen that too, though.
Oh, big time.
So I am. I'm clicking with Daryl. I'm like, no, Daryl's right. I would have liked to have seen that as well. So I can see his point, and I can see. I did think this was a story that was going to generate from our listening audience some differences of opinions, as far as what they, and maybe even there's listeners who like the book for different reasons than we do, as opposed to, we got Daryl in his case. I'm sure Daryl speaks for a certain portion of our audience. I'm sure there's other portions of our audience that might dislike the story for different reasons than Daryl. I think this is a story that likes and dislikes. I think there's a lot larger of a spectrum difference as far as what people like and dislike about this story. No, thank you, Daryl, actually, because I was hoping somebody would call in and chat about this. We had a great time chatting with Daryl in New York.
Yeah.
And they were at the table across from us over at DeFixers, and just a great guy. So, and please, anybody, don't ever feel that when you call into the show you have to agree with us. We have our own opinions, and I honestly, I think one of the strengths of our show is that we don't go out of our way to agree with anybody else, so why should you have to go out of the way to agree with us? Yeah. I know I am the diehard fanboy comic fan, but I think one of the freshest things about our show when we started was the fact that I'm not afraid to be that. Don't be afraid to disagree with me. I love that. And he actually brought up a point that I think is quite interesting, is the fact that, I kind of would have liked to have seen him again, in another mini or something like that, in a follow-up where he goes against his rogues galleries. But like you, I don't disagree with anything you said about the story which I thought I was going to.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the Superman Returns movie. A lot of people wanted to see Superman beat up some giant robot, or they wanted to see more action than the introspective of Clark returning and finding out and what he finds out, and just that whole. It was more of a drama where the main character happens to be Superman, not a Superman movie. And that was something people had issues with Superman Returns that I really ate that up.
I thought I was going to be Daryl.
Yeah.
When we had our review, because I really had that same experience that he had in different ways. But he mirrors kind of a lot of what my initial experiences were with that book. So thank you, Daryl, for calling in. It's funny. I'm sorry I wasn't that guy, because it just changed for me. I do think it's fun. I thought this was going to be the one that people were like, wow, this is a very different review for Sean. I really thought it was going to be. I got to be honest, though. Well, Jim, it's 10:41, and I thought we were going to get an early evening tonight. Because I still got to edit this baby and put it out. I'm hoping to get it out tonight still, because I got to go to work tomorrow for sure. So that's going to be an interesting how late I'm going to be up tonight trying to work on this. But I want to thank everyone that called in on the voicemails. And I want to apologize to people who sent in some emails. I have some emails that I want to get on the show that I'm going to get on next week's episode when we do our chat then. So a couple of you that I emailed back and said, hey, rather than responding to you, I'm just going to put it on the show. We are still going to do that. This was going to be a light show.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
yeah, so much for a light show.
I even said, I don't even think we have enough content.
Yeah.
Too funny. But anyway, please remember our voicemail line is 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype. I want to thank everybody for calling in. A lot of variety to our voicemail messages this time around, which was really great. And, like I said to Daryl, please don't feel that when you call in you have to agree with us. We all have different opinions in when we read books. Even look when you and I talked about Wednesday's comics. You and I had very different opinions on what our favorite stories were in Wednesday's comics right now, and that's kind of the fun of having the comic chat is where we're at. So
I say resistance is futile. You will be assimilated.
There you go. Our sponsors for this episode were DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com, where you can get Magog number 2, regularly $2.99, 40% off, only $1.79. And that's our surprising, those preview issues. The Superman Secret Origins previews that have been in the back, too, has gotten me kind of...
that wasn't a surprise though.
Yeah, no, that one was... Magog was the one
surprise,
that the preview pages got me excited for it where I wasn't previously. I 100% agree with you. Secret Origin I knew was going to be a home run, but... Preacher Book 1, the hardcover, is going to be our in-stock trades book of the month. Rage of the month in September. We're going to do that about mid-September. Issues 1 through 12. If you have not read this, boy, is it irreverent. But a very dense read, too. So we're going to be doing a lot of chatting about this.
It's a nice, meaty story.
Yeah. Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon. Regularly $39.99 for that hardcover. 47% off because our buddies at In-Stock Trade are following us on this one. $21.19. You can also get the trades if you prefer to do it a little cheaper. Volume 1 and Volume 2, which should give you the first 17 issues of the series, 47% off. Regularly $14.99, $7.94 each. So really, like you said in the beginning, almost 2 for 1 for these, and they're really close. Remember, orders of $50 or more gives you free shipping, which is more savings.
Woohoo!
I do a lot of times, I'll grab some things that I've been wanting to get when I do my in-stock trades order, just because of the fact that bumping up to that 50, I'm like not having to pay for shipping. A lot of times you look at shipping costs, it's another trade.
That is,
And I do look at it that way. I'm like, that's more reading for me that I can get for that same money. So I want to thank DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support us, especially for those Rage of the Month episodes, because I think it's great that they give an extra 10% off to our listeners. And I like it, too, that they've been so kind to give us both the hardcover and trade paperback discounts, so people can do it on a budget if they'd like to. So it's kind of cool. So thank you for that. And I want to remind everybody about RagingBullets.com. We have some new blogs and columns in the community content section and in our columns section. Where's Whatnot Nows? We have a picture of you that's going to be coming up from recently visiting the Gypsy Cafe.
The absolutely fabulous Gypsy Cafe.
Which looks like we're going to be visiting again quite soon at the Pittsburgh Comic-Con. Yeah, I'm excited for that. So see our friends over at the Gypsy as well. But if you have any submissions for the website, ragingcontest@gmail.com, we're going to be doing another contest in September. So get those entries in for the contest. We got a whole bunch of them in quite recently in the sketches section, and obviously any of the listeners that have been posting either through blogs or through anything that they've been linking to our sites. I'm a big fan of that, so anything you can do to help our website with content, get you a contest in the show, and you could be our next one to join us for October's Rage of the Month. We'll pick that in September, though, and we'll see who that new listener is going to be. And we're fishing up for tomorrow, I believe next week. The only reason why I'm tentative on that, we haven't had a chance to talk to Mandy since she got back from Chicago yet. So I want to make sure that that works for her. So please check the website and the forums for more information on whether or not that's going to be the next episode. But we will definitely be back next week.
Bye.